with Tia Tangen.
Hey.
How are you today, Tia?
I'm awesome.
Are you? Are
Yeah.
you nervous?
A little.
Yeah.
I wasn't at all until like literally we just started. Then I'm like, oh.
Why are you nervous?
I'm not a public speaker. I've never been in like, even when I was younger, not a public speaker, but I've definitely like gotten better with it as I've gotten older and stuff. And I'm usually fine like once I start talking, but it's always like, you know, when you're trying to think of what you want to say for the first part.
Yeah.
That's usually gets me sometimes. But once I get going, like anyone, you're usually fine.
Yeah, that anxiety creates like that brain roadblock.
It does. It's like like even when we were, I guess they wouldn't know this, but even when we were just starting and told me to tell a story to test the mics,
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going blank already. What do I do?
Well, it's funny because you watch like, we were just talking about Sydney before this, and like you could see Sydney was kind of like this. And then as the podcast went on, you could just see her like
just
open
loosen up.
up and
Yeah.
everything. That's what's fun about this too, is you just watch people kind of fall into their element and begin talking. And it's really enjoyable to see that. And I think the setup helps. Like, it's like, you know, if you were sitting on hardwood chairs and if you were actually in public and stuff, it might be different. But
Yeah.
I think once everyone gets going, it's like, okay, I'm in this comfy little chair. It's just us. And then the conversation just flows. And it's very interesting what people will tell you that you never like heard of before.
I could see it's all in the chairs.
It's all in the
because
chairs.
the only other, so this is only my second podcast that I've ever been on or tried. And the other one was with Jess. When she was at King's, she had interviewed me on one of hers. And so that was different because it was like during COVID kind of, and I was just at home and like, you know, online and when we did it. And so there wasn't like, I had to rely off the little video of my phone because I couldn't get it connected to my computer. So it was, I don't know what she used. It was Instagram, but you know how they like double up the pictures and you can collaborate?
Yes. Yeah.
So that's what it was. And so yeah, anyway, so it was just different, right? Like even though I was in my own house and stuff, it was still like there was a little bit of a lag from the
That's so frustrating.
which was a little frustrating, but like all in all, like she was amazing with regards to just like the interviewing and everything. But it's just like I definitely noticed like a difference with the couches and stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool.
Yeah. That's why, like, because I have some people that I'd like to interview that are like in the States and stuff, but it's that lag is the worst because you'll be talking and then they'll go to talk. So you'll stop.
Yes.
But then they're lagging. So then they stop and you're like, oh my goodness. Like, but there was Riverside was a good podcasting platform.
Okay.
But the only problem is both people have to have a membership.
Oh,
or it cuts out after like 45 minutes.
So one person can't have it and then like have someone else. Okay, got you.
Because a guest is only good for 45 minutes, I think.
Because the time restriction. I was going to say a lot of them probably have a time restriction on them.
Yeah, but like the person paying like with the subscription, they have unlimited time, I think.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
It's completely different, but that's like what I use Loom for like my online stuff. And so same thing, I have it for free, but you're only allowed like up to a 5-minute video.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it won't let you go any longer than that unless you pay for it.
I must be paying then.
Oh, you might be. And then I can only have like, I think it's like 25 videos, which you just delete like the ones that I don't need anymore. And then it's like, it works just fine. But yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I must have a subscription then because I got way more than 25 videos.
Okay, you're probably
that
paying
Loom
for
is
it.
awesome, man.
It
Like,
is
works
awesome.
really well.
Yeah, I really like that one. It's really easy, especially like if I have like a lot of check-ins in a row. I'm not always the fastest typer. So I'll just like to send them a quick little video is good. And maybe the 5 minutes is a good thing because I don't know. I do send more than one, but typically I don't know if they want to listen to me for 5 minutes. No one complains, but I'm like, you're listening to me for 5 minutes.
That's what I've ran into as well.
Yeah.
You got to like shorten it. Otherwise it'll
Yes.
lose you after X amount of time.
Well, and that's the thing. So there's so much of, you know, obviously information that your feedback or whatever that you're trying to give to them. But there is a point that like shortening it up, I think people pay attention a little bit more.
Yeah, that is very true. Well, the whole, what are they saying now? Like 8-second attention span or something like that.
Really?
That's what they say. That's why like Instagram, like you have to like have these crazy, everything's popping out of nowhere.
The bull riding of social media.
Yeah, right? Yeah, that's exactly it. Who can stay on for 8 seconds? Not many.
Squirrel.
Yeah, right? Like, and so even with your clients, even though they are engaged more than like a random social media individual, it's still, you got to keep it short.
Yeah.
And it's difficult. Like,
It is hard. Well, this is where I can bug you. It's probably harder for you because you like to talk.
I'm getting better. I'm getting much better because you realize like, yeah, you lose people. And then you realize there's a lot of stuff that didn't need to be said.
That's fair.
You know,
That's fair.
There's like either they don't care or there's like it's not super relevant or, you know, sometimes you just feel like you're doing a great job and you really want to provide the best. But then you got to think when they open that up and they see 20 minutes, they're probably just like, fuck this. Like, I don't want to listen to this guy for 20 minutes. Why couldn't he just say like, so I'm trying to keep him no more than 3 minutes.
That's actually okay. That's actually really smart. And so I might actually adopt some of that. Cause again, I have that whole 5-minute rule thing. And then sometimes out of that, if you guys won't realize that today, but I am a rambler. And so I will go off on something and it's like in my mind, it makes all sense, but I'm like, you could have like took out like 7 words and said the same thing and it would have been fine. So then afterwards, like in the email or whatever, I'll just like jot the points down. Like if it's, but then try to keep it a little bit shorter. And that actually helps a lot. 3 minutes is a good, I might
you can really do. So you ever heard of Chat GPT?
No.
Okay, so Chat GPT is an artificial intelligence thing.
Okay.
I can tell you more about it afterwards, but you can take the transcript from your Loom video. I don't know. I think you can do it with the free version. You can put it into Chat GPT and tell you to summarize it. And it'll pull out the key points.
Really?
And then you can just copy and paste that into your email.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll show you before you leave today. Okay?
Someone was show me that. Someone was showing me something like that. I don't know if it's the same thing, but it was also an AI kind of program thing, and they could literally like just like say a sentence of a topic and then ask them the AI.
ChatGPT.
Yeah, and it made like a paragraph based on whatever it is that they said in the sentence.
It's taking over the world.
Oh my, it's kind of scary.
It is. It is. That's why they're like Elon Musk and all them are like trying to say stop AI. Because they're scared, so they're like all those big names are like stop.
Smarter. They're gonna get smarter.
Yeah, so
that's why
it's useful, but you have to be careful.
That's why you should always say please and thank you to your Roomba.
I do every time. I always say please do this. I never say do this. I always put please in front of everything.
It's important. And Siri.
Yeah,
be nice to that bitch.
Yeah, listen up, bitch. Yeah, you can swear.
Okay,
you're fine. Okay, so before we get way off track here, because we're talking about doing Loom videos and such, how about you fill everybody in? Okay, because for you, like I know you've competed, you train people, you coach people. So what do you use, because we all use labels around here. What would you identify yourself as?
Well, that's a tough one. I tend to err on like the simple side. So I obviously am not going to go for like influencer or anything. But I typically tell people that I'm a strength training coach and I do nutrition consulting online. And then it's kind of funny, not that I'm not proud of it, but I tend to leave out the bodybuilding sometimes. But I do compete in natural bodybuilding, which I absolutely love. And even though I love it, I tend to talk people out of it at the same time. And so maybe that's why that's not the first thing that comes out of my mouth. But yes, I am Tia Tangen. I am a personal trainer. I do both in person and I make programs for online and nutrition coach with those guys. Yeah.
So why do you leave out the bodybuilding part?
So, and this is something, and I actually like that you asked that because I'm still kind of processing this. And the reason why I say that is, and without it sounding like it's a remarkable sport. Obviously, I wouldn't do it if I didn't like it. I've met like a lot of remarkable people in it. I think it is fantastic. However, I find that a lot of people, it's one of those things that looks super exciting from the sidelines, which it is, and it should, and that's awesome that it sparks somebody's interest. But I feel that a lot of people get into it for the wrong reasons. And so I hate to pick on anybody, but I'm going to use maybe females for an example right now. Is that sometimes, they look at it and think, well, I just want to be shredded as fuck or lean, that lean. And although, yes, that's a look of a physique that you're trying to aim for to be on stage for that period of time. I think that there's more to the sport than just having abs or being that lean. You know what I mean? And so I've definitely noticed and when I say talk people out of it, it's not the fact like, I don't think you should do this, anything like that. But it's just like, I'll be honest, this is a really, really amazing sport and it's taught me a lot, about myself, if not just the industry and science behind the body and stuff. But it can also be very detrimental to your health. You always say being on stage is that a health look, right? You're basically taking your body down to a very unrealistic weight. And it is tough. Your hormones are imbalanced. If you're a female, this is an overshare, you might lose your period. And so there's all these other concepts with it that no one really looks at. And so I think from that reason, I kind of quit just like glorifying in the sense like I compete, this is exciting, because more people were getting interested, which is awesome. But also I think maybe laying back on that being the first thing that I mention, kind of just for those reasons. And the second part too is because of the clientele that I work with. I don't work with a ton of athletes, although obviously that's kind of the route that I'm slowly getting more into. I have a lot of older individuals that have, back issues or have had disc issues. I work with a lot of people that have those kind of, problems, and I shouldn't say problems, but injuries more or less. And so I find if I tell them that, the first thing they say is like, I don't want to do any of that sort of sports. Right. And again, you don't have to, if you're working with somebody, they shouldn't be pressing that stuff anyways. But I definitely noticed that those are kind of the two reasons of why I kind of stopped leading with that. And then eventually when they get to know me, like, obviously I'll talk about it because it's very much a passion to me and something that I do crazily every 2 years. Yeah. And then, obviously I'll start, this is maybe off topic. So there was 1 year that I chose not to tell girly clients what I was doing, except if you know anybody that competes, they're losing weight at a very slow pace. But at some point, people start to ask questions because they're like, are you okay? Like, not that you don't look good, but they're just like, you are, noticeably getting quite a bit leaner. And so if you don't explain that, people are kind of like, what's wrong? Yeah. Like, you look great, but what's going on? And like, I don't peg myself as a very big person anyways, And so, obviously someone can start to notice when you lose weight. And so anyways, I'm competing this year. And so I've already kind of put the, ball in the court, and I've told some of my clients that like, yeah, I'm aiming to compete. This is kind of what it entails. Don't be concerned.
That's what Leo said. He said his one prep he tried doing without telling anyone. Is what he mentioned. Yeah,
I should actually ask him about that, because it's so funny because this comes up now and I've never actually thought to talk to any of the other competitors and like how they go about that. And I know a lot of them have, clients that will come watch their shows or whatnot. But yeah, it is kind of a funny thing if you think about it, but
I think for a female, it would be harder to hide that than a male, because usually like most male competitors stay relatively lean.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Where women, like in order for you to, that metabolism hormones got to come up, which is going to give you that, like a little bit of a watery look or whatever. Yeah. But that's just part of the process. Curves. So I think once you start actually cutting, it's like more obvious with a female.
That is very true. That is very true. Yeah. And I want to say it's like so I have new, clients obviously this year that are, I don't know how much of this I should explain, but with years you have changing clientele and sometimes too. And I have a lot of people that have been with me for quite some time. And so the people that kind of, know that you do this every year. And so it's kind of not a new thing to them anymore. They don't really say much, but like this year, like I have a few clients that I had just started with in December. And so obviously I had told them, they had kind of know, it's on my bio now, on the King's Fitness website. And so I'm starting to put it out front that way a little bit more so people know. I don't even remember what I was getting at with this.
We were talking about slowly cutting so people don't know that you're
Thank you. Oh, that's what I was getting at. Okay, sorry. And so she, welcome to Tangen. So she was asking. And so, she was more interested in just the process, and especially when you start getting close and, everyone is, they're like, okay, great. You start losing weight and then what? And it's like, well, you just keep basically doing that until, you achieve this tight, the look that you're going on stage stage with. And those last couple weeks, I always say like it's tough. Like you're grinding and you're a little bit food motivated. And so you're looking for each of that meal and you can be a little bit grumpy sometimes, or patience are short, And so I told her that and she's like, well, you're not going to be grumpy in here, are you? I'm like, no.
It's hard though, putting on that show though.
It is hard. And that's another part of it. Like that's another thing with competing is that, yes, you are super tired when you're right before, that first, I shouldn't say first, it can start anywhere from 16 weeks out, but 8 to 6 to 4 weeks out, especially when you're getting really close, you were dialed in, you were tired, you were super lean. You're hungry, you're cold, there's all these other stressors that can play the set on, what aggravates you and things like that. But at the end of the day, you chose to do that, right? And so, yeah, you're human, you're going to get grumpy and things like that. But that's also something that I constantly try to remind myself is that there is a portion of understanding, dealing with clients during that period of time and keeping on your normal workload, because you chose to do this, right? And so you kind of embark into this knowing that those last couple weeks are really freaking challenging, but you keep up with everything because you chose to do this. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the other side of it.
Yeah. When I got down to, when I was living in Red Deer, that's when I got down to single digit. Like I didn't step on stage, but I got down to, I think it was like 6 or 7%. And I was managing that shop and I was in a chair like this. It was so hard. But I think the reason, because, you and I know, most people are familiar with this too. Your NEAT, your non-exercise activity is what drives a lot of your deficit. So the fact that I was working there, otherwise I probably just sat around all day, but I had to get up and move. I had to do things. Yeah. And so that was actually what benefited me in the end. But like your energy, your cognitive function, you just become dumb, right? Yes. Like you mentioned like ADD, ADHD and everything like that becomes worse. It's just because such a significant decrease of hormones and neurotransmitters.
Totally.
And until you've been there, people don't understand.
No.
People don't understand until you've been there and you try to explain it. And like people know what fatigue is and everything and people are aware of these things, but what they don't understand is like they didn't like per se intentionally put themselves in that position, just life, whether it was stress, poor eating habits, whatever. Like you're intentionally putting yourself into that. And I think that's where it gets really difficult for people to wrap their heads around. Yeah. And that's where I feel like it could, scare people away and whatnot. And so it's interesting. Yeah. Like I kind of understand to a small degree of what you're saying, meaning like people have gone like, cause I've mentioned it's kind of hard to gain some exposure and traction on Instagram. People want you to do a shirtless photo. I said, okay, yes, it has gotten more likes, but that's not going to attract the type of clientele that I want.
And it's showing, like you said, it's kind of showing this fantasized product, right? Where it should be the journey of competing, right? And I know that kind of sounds like la la la, but it's kind of true. And that's why I say, people, if they're just going in for like this physique, this is going to sound counterintuitive, but like if I know you're going on stage to compete in a physique based sport, but if that is your only outlook of it, right? And not kind of taking all the other goods with the bads throughout the whole experience, and you're kind of missing the point, or if you're just going to like win, you know what I mean? Like you're missing the point. It's like, if you've competed before, me going off on a tangent. Welcome to my last name.
What I'm curious about, because you spoke about with competing, you talked about the hormones and everything. In your own experience, what about the mental health aspect of it?
Oh, that's another tough one. So I'm going to be super transparent with this, and it's not something I'm like super proud of, but it kind of happens. And so these are kind of the things that not everyone goes through it, but I think they're valuable to, especially for someone like I have done 9 shows so far. And so have I done 9 shows? Yeah, 9 shows, I think last year.
Wow.
And so with that, there has definitely been a few times and so this is a range between, is it mentality or is it those other habit stuff? But you get really close to I want to say an eating disorder. That's like probably the closest. I've never had an eating disorder. I've had bad relationship with food growing up and stuff, but I've never actually, had a full eating disorder. And so I can say that during prep, there's been a few times that is definitely like, obviously I've pulled myself out of it and it's totally like, I'm okay. But there's definitely that aspect of it because, you're restricting and, they always say about if you're restricting, we're all like big kids. If you're not allowed to have something, you want it and you want it more. And, if you're trying to understand why you're not having it, you kind of start to put those in other unhealthy places. And I don't know if that's just like an outlet or I don't know. So because of that, the mental health I feel kind of goes with it because you're trying to also get your shit together and not be so hard on yourself, but you're also being hard on yourself, telling yourself to get your shit together.
It's that push and pull.
It is. And it's a very isolating sport when I say that.
You have to be very selfish.
It is. You have to be very selfish. And so I've done it, both being, single and both being in a relationship, and it is challenging both ways. I find, and I have more friends that understand now early years when I first started getting into competing, and this is nothing to say bad about the friends or anything, but they maybe just didn't quite understand it. And so it was a lot of like, why are you doing this? Or like, oh, you can't eat that and stuff. And, with kind of not understanding that you tend to not necessarily want that support. So you tend to not really hang out with them. Mm-hmm. And also being social because you have to bring your own food and you're dialed into this regime and there's certain things that you may or may not, can be able to have. And, you can only have so much fat. So it's really, your window of opportunities to go out and do stuff is pretty small in a sense. I'm not saying you can't still go do those things, but if you're really dialed in, it's probably not the best idea depending on how far out from a show you are. And so you're not going out and having those social times really with anyone. And so I did find that in earlier years, I started competing in 2017, if I should add that in. And so I found those years I did lose some friends because of the selfishness of it. I'm not saying that's necessarily my fault. There's, give and take of understanding too, what that the sport might mean to someone. And then obviously that has to come out in relationships too. So those aspects for mental health. But a lot of times what people don't talk about with the mental health, it's not so much during, it's after. That's the big one.
Now, is that something that you've been hit hard with? Because most competitors will end up like going the binge eating route and then like that depression because of their physique change so rapidly.
Yeah. So mine's more the physique change. And I don't know if I've really been super open with this on social media. Most of the time because you're in it. So you're just trying to like get out of it. What I found with that is I tend to not like to restrict myself. And so when I say that, when you get out of a show, you'll have so many, I do know competitors that tend to keep to a very low side of calories and maybe take a very long and slow refeed process or putting the weight back on, reverse dieting, whatever you want to call it. And I don't like that route because I think at that point, I try to do at least, the 2 or 3 shows in that, season. And so when I'm done that, I'm like ready to eat. Yeah. And so it's, maybe that's my problem too. I don't necessarily take the slow approach. I don't just go, hang out in the cupboard for a while, but I definitely tend to start to have bigger meals and so I tend to put the weight on a little bit quicker. And so this year, I guess other years, it's been like, I think probably my first time I competed, it was real quick that it came on. And Sorry, I said that wrong. My first year that I competed, I took a while for it to come back on. And that almost did me worse because after that, I was like scared to eat. So I did end up obviously putting the weight back on, but I was scared to eat for that whole period of time. So then, 2 years later, I compete again and I'm like, hey, I'm going to try this differently. I'm going to let myself put the weight on and maybe try to get to that point a little bit quicker. I put it on a little too quick. And so, what everyone says, it's like, it is, might take you 6 months to take off 20 pounds, but you can put 20 pounds on real easy in like 3 weeks.
I did it in a week.
Yeah. Well, if you do that too, right? And I mean, with that, well, you can get into this later, but like your digestion is shit. Your sleep is shit. Your hormones are trying to figure themselves out at that point, but they're still so down regulated that you just have all these weird, like I sweat a lot.
Well, do you know what, when you come out of that, what gets fed the most, the quickest is estrogen.
Yes.
When you come out of those deficits.
Yes.
And
yeah.
So like, instead of like, optimally we would want progesterone and it's just estrogen.
Yeah.
Just estrogen,
there you go.
Right.
Yeah. And so that's when I tend to have a crazy time. And so I competed in 2021. I did kind of like a maybe halfway point between those two. I took maybe about 5 to 6 weeks, and that's probably still quick for some competitors. I know some competitors like to stay lean for quite some time. So
sorry, you went 5 to 6 weeks between shows?
No, sorry. So 5 to 6 weeks after my last show to like put on the weight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's probably even a short period of time too. And when I'm talking about putting on the weight, like I typically stay within 20 to 25 pounds, out heavier than my stage weight. And so that's kind of a normal weight for me. And so even though I'm used to being that weight, once you put it on, you're just kind of like, oh, this is what it feels like. And so, you can feel a little more curvier than normal and things like that. What I found challenging not last year, but 2021 is that I was kind of in like a new relationship at that period of time. And so I think I wasn't anticipating my brain to go this route, but I think the weight had not necessarily bothered me crazy to put on before, but I was more hesitant this time. And I think it was maybe I had met the individual while I was prepping. And so they knew this very lean version of me. And so I might've been like a little like, yeah, this isn't my normal weight. Like I'm like a little bit heavier than this. And at the end of the day, it was like, that was not a big deal. It wasn't at all, but that can all play with the mental side of it. And so, we all look at like that whole lead up to prep, but it is very much after that. I feel like girls really, really need to understand, and have a lead out plan or have something, and I maybe didn't give a great example of my trials and errors of putting on weight after the show, but that is also me. Other people might be different, right? And that's nothing wrong with, someone want to stay a little bit leaner, longer to put on that weight. I just like to eat.
Yeah. Well, you're quite active though. Like you're always moving, you're high energy, like once again, we were just talking about me, like even like people wonder how I stay lean. Like I said, I talk a lot, I fidget a lot, I do everything a lot, right?
Yeah.
And you're the same.
Yeah.
So it's not like just a casual walk over to the cupboard. It's like, you know what I mean? And so like you're just expenditure.
You're jumper jacks.
Yeah, it's always higher.
I want milk today.
So, and you are definitely, well, I always say you are your own worst critic, and you are definitely that, because there's lots of times where you've expressed how you feel, and many people have commented on the opposite spectrum saying, no, to you look great like this or whatever. But like, the whole body dysmorphia thing is a real serious thing, especially with competitors, because I like what you said. You are going in there, and I think it's like, if you can focus on the fact that like, I am doing this, like I am putting my body through this so I can achieve this physique. But at the end of the day, you are still getting judged. Mm-hmm. And so like, that's what kind of I think also really plays a big role in the psyche of all of this.
Yeah, that's actually really good. And I didn't even think to mention that one, but yes, you're right. That's totally like, and that's kind of the crazy part. When people don't quite understand it, they're like, so you're literally doing this to step on stage to be judged. Mm-hmm. And you're like, yep. Yeah, it's totally the reason.
Part of the sport.
And the funny thing is that you're being judged more or less against other competitors, but you can't go into it with like a comparison aspect in mind.
Yeah.
You have to go into it with only your physique and your experience. And, you know, maybe you have something like your last time that you competed to go off of, but that you literally just, and you should just have you that you're focused on to go in there. And so that's also a very weird, you know, mentality change that, okay, well, you're competing with people, you know, like a race or anything like that, but you're not competing with them. I'm like, oh, you very much are. But you're right. It's like, you don't want to be the one walking in to have, you know, a comparison aspect. It should just be getting yourself the best possible shape, you know, a physique stance, and see what that looks like on stage. That's like literally the only thing you can really do. But yeah, you're being judged.
So how many have you won? Because you won a few, haven't you?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I don't even know. I'm even remembering have I done 11 shows or is it 9? I think it's 9. Yeah. So I was in 2000. So when I first competed, 2017, I competed with the WNBF first. And I placed 3rd. And so when you start competing, you're in the novice category. Not many people really know who you are. If you place well in there, then, you know, you can move up to the open. My throat's dry.
Need the cough button.
Yeah.
There's a water right there.
Oh, there is. I brought water too. Okay. Oh, and you have water already. Look at you.
I'm a good host.
I just bashed my tooth on my thing. Take that out of there.
No, I'm leaving that all in.
Oh, now I forgot where I was again.
Yeah, so we were talking about you're in the novice group and you started out first in 2017.
Yes, yeah. So I managed to place. I think I placed first in the novice group. I'm trying to remember now. And then I placed 3rd overall in the open. And then after that, you can get into the higher categories. Because
you have your pro?
I do. Yeah. So I won my pro card in 2019. And that was, I won it at so that would have been my 3rd show. And so I was, you know, obviously elated. Like that was so surprising to me.
Was that surprising?
I shouldn't say surprising, but most of the people that I had met at that point had been competing for years. Right. And so it wasn't something that I was thinking that, you know, in 3 years total that I was going to be able to get my pro card. It was something that I kind of figured like, I'm going to start and see how this is and, you know, build as whatever I can build and just make it to stage. That was kind of my only thing. And then when I didn't do so bad my first year, I kind of thought, okay, well, maybe I can, you know, do some changes. And you obviously get feedback from the judges and stuff of what you need to work on.
Yeah, because we were talking about the psyche earlier, competing. So what's it like when you go in there and you bust your butt for 16, maybe even more weeks. You go on stage and then all of a sudden someone tells you, hey, this was not good enough. What does that do to somebody?
Oh, okay. So this might be different for other people, but I was already understanding that when I went into it. And so it's almost like that's why you go to the judges afterwards to get that feedback, right?
So you don't have to go to the judges?
You don't have to if you don't want to.
I thought, okay.
Yeah, you don't have to, but they are there to help you improve season to season, right? And so if you can take that, you know, critique or that, and the judges, I have never, and maybe other competitors have a different experience, but I've never had any, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but like basically the guru judges. I've never had anyone come that have just, you know, self-deprecating things that they're telling me to change. I just find that it's just feedback and it kind of gives you, I like it because it gives you, you know, more specific structure on where you need to put the work in for that off season. And so I find without that, you don't know why you placed the way you placed. Okay. Right. And so, you know, you could come out third or second or whatever, and that's still amazing. You could also just not have placed at all. Maybe you're 5th or 6th out of that. And, you know, they were only taking top 3 and that's still awesome. Like you still made it to the stage and stuff, but it might just be that little bit of a difference.
Okay, so I didn't realize that. I always thought like it was almost like what's that show with Simon Cowell where they're like X Factor or whatever, America's Got Talent kind of thing.
You with the hamstrings, get off.
yeah. Like I thought that's what it was afterwards they like, but I guess if you're going there to request the feedback, I bet that would put you in a different state of mind. And that'd probably be a lot easier to handle than somebody just saying, hey, this is what's going on. So now in your experience, is there something that is like common that has come up for them from the judges' feedback, or is it different every year?
That's a really good question. For me, it's been kind of common actually. And so I'm interested to see what it would be like this year because we put some work in. And I think I always knew this, but I guess you can kind of see on camera, I'm like the epitome of like a volleyball player that like turned, strength trainer more or less, or got into strength.
So what do you mean?
Training. So I am super tall. Okay. I have the legs, core maybe, but I don't have like the shoulders or anything like that. And so I don't know if that's like a great description of it, but I've just always been really, really lean for like my, entire life, more or less, until I started getting into bodybuilding. And so on stage, even my first year, it was your shoulders and your hamstrings, more or less. And then add in getting in a car accident and, things that made it hard to actually like train the shoulders. That was just before COVID, actually. So the end of 2019. And when I say car accident, we don't need to get into that, but I was rear-ended. I was pretty open about it on social media, and
did you do the whole Peter Griffin thing?
I should have. Get out of the car. Here, can you hold this?
Just collapse on the ground. Ketchup packets just everywhere. Screaming. Blood.
Oh my God. I should have really played it up.
Ma'am, I can see ketchup in your hands.
I can see ketchup. No, this is real.
Jugular. Get rich quick scheme,
right? But that, like, obviously that caused I won't go into that whole thing, but it caused like a lot of issues, tension, imbalances that I couldn't. It took me. So I'm probably going off everywhere right now, but in 2021, you'd think so. I got hit at the end of 2019. Pretty much to the point I couldn't lift a barbell almost into 2020. Was COVID anyway, so we couldn't really get into the gyms. And so that whole year I wasn't able to do any compounds or anything like that, like my back and hips. And there was just like a ton that was just didn't feel good and that I was dealing with. And oh my goodness, I'm like, train of thought today. I'm so bad.
Okay, injuries with your shoulders.
Thank you.
Car accident.
Yes. So, and then it wasn't until 2021, just before I freaking competed, that I actually started being able to lift a bar again and stuff. So I more or less just like dieted into that show. Because
still competed.
I still competed. Okay. Yeah. And so I could have chose to take another year off, but I had just won my pro card in 2019 and I really wanted to just make a presence on the pro stage. But I kind of knew going into that I didn't really put into the work. I knew the judges' feedback from the last time, and I kind of knew that I wasn't going to have made that change. And so I didn't honestly place the best in 2021, but I kind of also think it's important because I had started out placing so well. I kind of needed that little bit of like, you need to go back and work now.
Yeah. Put you in place.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of humbling because, and again, people can argue like, oh, good genetics or things like that. And maybe you can argue that with me. I don't know. But I also fucking know that I've put in a lot of work to, bring up legs and stuff. So anyways, obviously.
Was that the feedback or was it shoulders?
So it was shoulders and hamstrings, basically that one. Yeah. So the 2021, it was kind of almost everything. I was holding a lot more muscle mass in my upper body than my lower body, which I kind of knew. And just other critique things that they'll say, come in a little bit leaner, things like that, or, posing is a big one too. Sometimes if you can nail, I say flattering, but if you can nail your flattering, physique in those, or flattering poses to really show off that physique, that might make a small, or a big difference with you being just on stage, depending, of your whole, how you come in. So there's like a lot of factors in there, but yeah, shoulders and hamstrings are pretty much mine. And with that, calves probably. Who likes training calves?
Yeah, I got shitty calves too.
Yeah, Curtis, let's see your calf.
That's why I keep them down low. Cameras up here. This is a serious question, okay? Because I've worked with competitors in non-natural divisions and whatnot, and like you'll have females that will lose placing because of like not big bountiful hair or big fake
the beauty
lips
aspect.
or breast implants and stuff.
Yeah.
Is that the same in the WNBF?
So good question. And honestly, with my experience in the WNBF, it's been relatively like physique based, which was what the sport is, right? And so if the cameras can show here, I am like, not well endowed. I'm pretty flat chested. And so when I lose a bunch of weight, like I lose my boobs too. And there's padding and things like that. And so, sometimes, and it could be the case in other federations if they're looking for what an ideal bikini, figure look like. Maybe some federations may favor having, or having a female that is a little bit more well endowed on top or whatnot, because it is a little bit of a balance thing too, right? And so how much, I don't know. And so with regards to WNBF, I feel that they have judged very fairly. Honestly, I've been on stage with, both types. I have, a lot of friends that are like me that we don't really have much on top. And I've also competed with girls, at Worlds and stuff that do, whether they're fake or real or whatever.
When you say Worlds, was that natural division as well?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Worlds is still, natural. That's like the more international one to the WNBF. Like it's all WNBF, but then you have like your kind of I don't want to say smaller, but maybe the more local one. And then the Worlds is like international. So that's usually the one. They had it in Vegas in 2021. And then
you got a sword out of that one, didn't you?
2019. The Vegas one I didn't know, but the 2019 is when I won my pro card, and that's when I got. Yeah. New York was the one in 2019. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was competing in New York, which was, oh my goodness, that was such an experience. It was really cool. Vegas was also really cool. But yeah, that was when I had gotten the sword for my, this is not on topic right now, but I have to say it because when they always tell you if you win or whatnot, because you're getting photos, obviously standing on stage with whatever you're placing, you don't think anything of it because you're just excited and you're up there all lean and dumb and whatever, and you're just hungry and thirsty. The big thing is because you have this tan on, right? And so your armpits, because you're up there sweating, they don't always like look the best. And so what they always tell you, if you're posing, like try to keep the arms down and things like that. No, you know what I did as soon as I got my fucking sword? And so like, that's all my photos. And I'm like, oh.
You need to be like in that Superstar movie, which is like this. Yeah, so you need to be like.
Yeah.
Can you see the difference in the tan?
A little bit. Yeah. I have it on Instagram or whatever, but a little bit. And honestly, the professional photos that I got were like he edited it and it was completely fine, but I was just, anyways, I just thought it was funny because every time someone mentions my sword, I'm like, oh yeah, the sword.
That's what you think of?
Damn it.
That's like people go in tanning beds and they always have that white spot just on the top
where
of their bum.
back sits. Yes.
Yeah, they always have it there. That's why because I used that shop, I imagine was a tanning salon.
Yeah.
I was like, just flip, like just lay on your stomach or whatever, and then you get both sides.
Yeah.
They all have that one little mark.
That's so funny. I never thought. And if you've looked, that you get them on your shoulder blades too.
Yeah, exactly, on the shoulder blades because everything's like pinched there.
Yes, that's super funny. I never thought. So I probably just went off topic like 6 times.
That's what a podcast is. That's what a podcast is. Let's talk about New York. So like, what was that whole experience like?
Oh my God. New York was both terrifying and so exciting. And so when I say terrifying, this is again not for everyone else. I had like just gone through a breakup. It was like,
that's a very long-term relationship.
Yes. Yeah. It was like we were together for almost like 12 years.
Were you engaged again?
We were engaged. Yeah. Anyways, had a whole house together and everything. And I won't quite get into that aspect, but unfortunately, things just weren't working out. And so we had chose to...
Tia could bench more than him.
You what, sorry?
I said Tia could bench more than him.
No, but we had chose to like... go our separate ways and stuff. And so it was both scary because that was the first time, obviously we owned a house together and I had moved out of that. And so that was the first time that I had like lived by myself, in 12 years. And it was the first time that I had done anything by myself in 12 years. And it was just, so that was just like really, really scary. And I had never been to New York before, and when I say being on a plane by myself, I was traveling with Team Canada. So it was, that was really nice. I know all the girls. Leo was there. Okay. And I always joke that we're all like a bunch of little delinquents because we're just in there starving and hungry. And we're like, where's the water? Where's salt? Is there a microwave?
Don't feed after midnight.
Yeah, where's my coach? You're like, where's the bathroom? I have to pee for the 10th time. And so, so you have all these people to kind of lean on. So that was really great. New York, getting down there, I didn't quite like know what to expect. And so I should explain, prior to that, I don't even remember what I used website, but in order to book my hotel, someone told me about this website and I thought it was all legit. And now I got to remember what the website was called. It was all freaking legit. But someone told me you go on this website, you type in the city or wherever that you want to go, and it can be anywhere. And they bring up, it's almost like a lottery. They bring up maybe 3 options of hotels, and they're kind of, I'm trying to remember how it works. They tell you the stars of them, but they don't tell you how much they are a night. They just bring them up, but it's all cheaper than what they would normally be.
Okay.
So, and you can go through the first ones and you can choose to skip or pick one, but you're kind of doing a gamble. So if you skip and they bring up the next one, you might have worse deals. And then it's just going to go downhill from there kind of thing.
So you're literally gambling.
Pretty much. And every time, obviously, you say no, the prices get a little bit higher. Mm-hmm. So that's the thing. If you click on it first and these first options come up and you think like, hey, that's going to be the best options, just take it. So this is what I used to go for my first time, because I'm really smart, to New York. Anyways, it turned out I ended up getting it was a tiny, tiny little apartment hotel room, literally just off of Times Square.
Really?
Yeah. Like I could walk out and just like maybe like I was literally right. Like I walk out and I was in Times Square. Mm-hmm. That's how freaking close it was.
That's cool.
So me being from a small town and a introvert, here I get out. This is the first time I'm telling anybody this. It took me an hour to leave my hotel room, maybe longer, the first day, because I was so terrified.
Just standing in front of the door.
I did. And I was like finding all these. I was like, maybe I'll just do that. Maybe I'll just read my book a little. Put your big girl pants on. I was like, do you get the frick outside? And you're never going to be in New York. Go explore.
So no flash mobs then, eh?
No, thank God. But I did have actually kind of a scary experience at New York. And anyway, so one of the times I had talked myself to go out and explore or whatever, it was literally like the first day that I had gotten down there. I had and maybe this was my fault, I had blonde hair. I was already kind of tan because I had already just competed at some point. I'm wearing a bright red toque, and then my Canadian bodybuilding pro jacket.
What time of year was this?
It would have been November, mid-November. Okay. So
still cold then.
Yeah, it was like November, I think 17th when we got out there or something. And so it was still pretty chilly. But I think I just like stood out like a sore thumb. And so I go to Times Square and it's crazy busy. And they have like those red stairs that are there. They're stairs, but they're like, yeah, they are stairs. Anyways, you can go up and sit on them or whatever. They had them for like, it was around Christmas and stuff. So I go there and I'm looking at these stairs, and all of a sudden this gentleman, this guy, I don't think that anything was wrong with them, but the guy comes up and I had my phone. That's what it was. And I was trying to Instagram. I was doing all this stuff and talking or whatever. And he comes up and he's trying to like, oh man, you want me to, take your picture or whatever. But in my mind, I was like, I don't want to give him my phone. Cause I've heard about that. Oh, that you hand someone their phone and then they take off. So maybe this just is me being too, I don't know, overprotective or what. But I was scared to give him my phone. And so I kind of like pulled it back. And then there was another guy that came around behind me and kind of grabbed the strap of my purse I had at the time. And they were not being like forceful or anything, but he was just like, oh, like I can hold this, miss. And I immediately was just like, don't touch catch me. And I like bolted out of there.
Start kung fu chopping everywhere.
It was. And I'm like, they probably just thought I was nuts, but I was just like, I was so like hyper aware of everything around me. And I was so scared. There were so many people and it was such a lot of stuff was going on. But anyways, that was the first day. And then after that, it got like definitely better. Like I learned that there was some of the other competitors that were like literally kitty corner streetwise around that area. So they had gotten, places close too. And so it was good. I had a lot of support, but that was probably the scary first day. But yeah, I like did a lot of, I'll talk about like the competition, but like just sightseeing. Like I went and saw the 9/11 stuff, which was like, it was very powerful. And so I don't know if you're like, or tend to like think about like energies and things like that.
I was just gonna say empath.
Yeah. When I wasn't prepared to have that feeling, it was like a weighted blanket, but maybe not a good one. It's such a heavy, heavy feeling when I got down to the grounds. Yeah. And it was even like I had like an awesome taxi or Uber driver or whatever that took me there. But it was as soon as like I got out, they made sure that like I got nice and close. I can, just walk up there. And as soon as I walked up there and saw it for the first time, it was just this very heavy wash that kind of came over you. And I don't know if it's because you're actually looking at the size of them and noticing that they were buildings at some point. It was very... Yeah, that was probably the most memorable thing. I shouldn't say most memorable thing, but just being able to go out and look at some of those things.
Sightseeing kind of thing,
that was probably one of the things that I remember the most. And I think it was just because I wasn't anticipating having that feeling, and you've kind of heard of it before. Some people have said like for the first time, like it was very emotional. It was very, very impactful. It was very cool. Like I'm so happy that I took time to go down and see that. But yeah, so that was really cool. Being all around that, but competing and stuff too. We competed in Long Island. So it wasn't quite downtown in New York. We got to, to transfer that way. I guess we stayed in Long Island first, and then after that we went and stayed in. That's when I had the other hotel by Times Square. So then we got to do all kind of that fun stuff then. But Long Island, yeah, we competed. The venue was out of a high school, I want to say it was, and it was so freaking cold that day, and it was so windy, and you're just trying to, commute. I was staying with a competitor and her boyfriend at the time, so I called them mom and dad. And so it was just us three, and we would just, commute in the hotel shuttle buses back and forth to, the other host hotel and then like the main event and stuff. When we got in there, I had never experienced like an international like stage event, I guess, before. So that was kind of like the first one for me. So I wasn't anticipating how busy it was. Like you walk in the back and it's a gymnasium, and I still have videos of it, but I'm like, you ever want to know what it looks like at behind the scenes of a bodybuilding show? And it's just like, it looks like fields of people, and they're all just like laying on towels or pumping up or getting spray tanned in the corner. And it's, everyone's just like naked running around. People are trying to change, and like nobody cares because nobody's libido is working. Everyone's really freaking tired. And they're, anyway, so we were laughing because there was no microwave or anything for us to heat our food up. So you have all these competitors eating cold rice out of bags and stuff. And it was like, I think I ended up having to get someone else to like, I didn't ask for it, but they'd give me their potatoes or something. Cause at that point, my food had been sitting frozen on like, since I packed on the plane, and some of it was starting to thaw already, and we didn't have a fridge to put it into. So like my chicken went bad a little bit. So yeah, those are all things that you have to deal with.
You're making this very appealing.
Right. Well, it's part of the sport, but no, like traveling and stuff is fun. And like meeting everybody was the coolest thing. So like I said, this being the first like international thing I went to, we had to get, translators, the apps on our phone, because of all the different teams. So there was a team from Japan. There was, so they were the funnest because like we had to translate everything, obviously, because they didn't have a translator and we didn't quite know what they were saying. And so we had met some of them in the grocery store the one day. And me and the other girl that I was with, we had our phones and we were trying to translate back and forth to them. But it was just really cool that people were still trying to make that effort. And there was just so many, like there was, your Europeans and you have the Chinese and then, you have the other teams from Japan. And then it was just, and then you have Korea and then, oh my goodness, it was just like, there was a lot and just trying to take that all in. It was just for a first time thing. It was just really, really cool.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't know Japan would have been in that. Like when I went to Japan, my phone broke, but I didn't even think of a translator.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of using like a translator app.
Was it Japan or was it Korea? I'm trying to remember exactly. There were so many different
It was
teams.
Japan. Like they're so friendly. Everybody talks about how nice Canadians are. And I'm like, it's nothing compared to the Japanese. Like the Japanese are so friendly.
Yeah. And it was just like overall, like that was just, and then you see some of the, like I saw, the Europeans for the first time. And I was just like, I think my mouth just like dropped because I was just like, these girls are jacked. Oh my God. And so I should say, so that would be my first like international one. Again, not going there like I'm going to win, but you're going there to do well. You wanted to do your best. I came in dead last.
Did you?
I did. I'm trying to remember, there was 10. No, now I'm trying to remember. I get really confused how many there was one day. I think there was 10 on stage when I went and I was number 10.
Oh, wow. Though it's like what I say about like snowboarding. Like it's more than just like getting on the snowboard and all that kind of stuff. You're going out to the mountains, you're with friends, you're meeting new people. So even though like, okay, whatever, dead last, you still got to go to New York, experience all those things, like see, and even just like we were talking about like the World Trade Centers and just like to have that emotion. So it's more than just bodybuilding. It's more than just stepping on stage.
At least you hope, for anybody interested in getting into competing, that you want to take as much out of it as you can than just like the actual sport. Because that's kind of what makes it worth doing year after year and why people call us crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just because of all these other things they outweigh that simple thought of just being judged on stage. It's you get some of the girls that I've met during competing. I am like my first year I'm still friends with, and because it's we have that that bond in a sense, or that relatability factor of that we've both did this crazy sport and came out of it and everything like that. So that was really, 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 really cool with it. But yeah, we're slowly moving up in the world's division. So 2021 in Vegas, I ended up coming in, I'm trying to freaking remember, 8th. I want to say I was 8th, and I think there was 12 on stage. And so that I was like, I thought that was phenomenal. I was like, I wasn't 10th this time. Now I'm trying to remember New York. I don't think 10th. I think I was like 14th. I think that's what it was. I think it was like 14th or 15th. So I was like dead last.
How much, sorry to cut you off. How much do you think, two things, because that was the relationship ending, right? Around that time. Also like the traveling. Do you think that played a big role in like what you brought to the stage?
Oh, very
taking
well.
Away from that? Yeah,
that could have totally as well. Not being like, you have enough time, like we did anyways. And like Leo is really good with that. Obviously he's coming down with us with Team Canada and stuff. And so we always make sure, usually the competition's on the Saturday. So I can't remember what day or whatever that was in 2019, but we were there, plenty of days in advance, because you want to make sure everyone holds a little bit of water when they get off of a plane, right? And so you're aiming to come in with not that, extracellular fluid. You want that in, you don't want to spill over. You want to be very tight. vascular, not look blurry or watery or anything like that. And so you're kind of playing with all these as you're like a giant science experiment. You're kind of playing with all these other things and variables that you don't really have control of. And then like a few that you have control of. And so you're just trying to manage all of those. And so, was it perfect? Probably not. There's probably still things, even when I traveled to Vegas, there's still things that I was like, yeah, I could do better with those next time. Cause it's always, when you're traveling for things, there's so much stuff that you can't, that is just like I said, just uncontrolled. There's so many variables that you just kind of have to go with the flow. And I think that's all kind of part of it, because everybody's more or less has to deal with that. Right. And so it does bring a matter of, these all play a factor of how you might come out on that final look on stage, but so did everyone else. So it's like, how well did you manage it at that point?
Was there any New York competitors?
I want to say yeah.
They would have caught a little bit of a break then.
Right. Well, that's the thing. I'm going to say probably yes. I don't remember. Like I didn't meet any specifically that were from there, but probably. But yeah, and see, then maybe they might have an advantage, but we all had to do prep the same. I shouldn't say the same. All preps are different, but we all had to prep to some degree to get there. Right. And so I think with that, there's a lot of variables as well. Just as a human, your job, how while you're sleeping, your social life, your stress life, how well you deal with all of those things too, all play a factor. And so,
what's another thing, if you're okay commenting on this, that a lot of people don't talk about is cha-ching, is the money involved to do all this. Like I said,
it's expensive.
I'm assuming you gotta book your flight. You gotta get those hotels. You gotta get your suit. You gotta do I think when people see the glorification of bodybuilding, they don't think of that part.
No,
they think, okay, 16, I can do that. I can do this. Yeah, I can do that. And then all of a sudden it's like, here, I need $1,000 for your suit. You're like, what? I don't think enough people talk about that.
No. And with those two, there's always options, right? And so, the more competitive that you get in and the more years that you compete and the more dense your muscle looks and the more, that you're just more involved in it, things can become a little bit more, I don't know the word to use, but just you're wanting to get the better quality things. You're wanting to get, and the way I see it is I honestly used the same suit for the first first three years. Honestly, I think I wore that suit and just bedazzled it myself by 2021 too. And so, I don't know how much I should get into this. So there's I'm kind of going off on a tangent right now. So there's different cuts for the bikini. So when I say I tried, use the same bikini, there did come a point when I won my pro card that there is also different cuts of the bikini. So I had now I'm in the pro show, there's pro cut to your bikini bottoms. And so it's all about how much glute development that they show. And so
to make it simple, they make it smaller?
Basically.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So you're border longing thong. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's not the goal of it, right? It's not to be whatever, it's sexual or anything like that. We just need to show off more. Yes. Yeah. It's just a way for them to see the definition more, and especially the glutes, right? Because if you're having a little bit more modest bottoms that cover a little bit more, you're also covering definition possibly, right? And so that's not a super big deal when you're in the novice and open categories and things like that. But when you get into the more competitive divisions and the more international shows, you can still wear those bottoms. It's not like you're not allowed to wear them, but you're also going up with girls that have, have put in the time, they have competed, they have dense muscle, they have glutes, they have hamstrings, and everything like that. So you're just trying to match that as best you can with, where you're at in your, competitive era, more or less. And so that was when I, got another suit. And, but yeah, all of that stuff, the suit, the depends how much you want to do, right? You got to get your makeup done there is a beauty aspect as well as there is, your physique and balance and everything like that. There is also a beauty aspect going on stage, which I think we were going to talk about last time, but I think I went off topic a little bit, but, So yeah, there's all those things. So your nails, you get your nails done, your tan costs something, your makeup costs something. So the last couple of years I've done my makeup myself. Yeah. Your heels, you have to have a standard heel. You can't just go buy heels and expect to walk on them. They have to be, these, 6-inch or whatever clear platforms or whatever. And, and then not to mention registration for the show, not to mention travel, not to mention if you're traveling, all your food and everything like that. So there's definitely ways that you can make those cheaper and worth your while. Obviously I'm not a millionaire, so it's, like I said, I've done my makeup the last couple of shows. I've done my hair too. And then, you get the other modalities like the tanning service and stuff that you're not going to do that yourself, and so then you prioritize having those. But yes, when you're getting into
your armpits would look then.
Yes. And your goddamn sword. Anyways. But that all starts to add up, especially then when you start getting into the international shows and stuff. And it is only to a point competing of how well you do when that starts to start paying off. Like you may get a sponsor or you might win stuff that way. But
so okay, take that into account. Let's say you spend all this money to go to New York, right? Of course, yes, you had a good trip though, experience with things, but does that play a role in the psyche afterwards as well by not placing what you wanted to place or placing dead last? Do you go, man, I just spent all this money and I didn't even, does that affect you?
So actually really good question. That I never thought of that before. That doesn't actually bother me. I think the New York's probably a good one. I maybe thought about that a little bit after Vegas, but no, New York, not so much, just because like I said, it was more just, yes, I was going to compete. Yes, that was the main thing, but I had just gone through a crazy breakup. It was more like, you can do this solo trip like this. You can do this. And it did help again for that aspect. It made me feel, more at ease, more confident, a little bit more, happy in my skin from, being not being independent for however long. And so I all looked at that as an experience. It was my first time ever being there. Would I have done things differently? Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Would I have done the lotto pick a hotel next time? Maybe not. But then it was, I'm starting to lose my voice now. I did. It was decent. It was, they were pretty decent. They're just like really small and I couldn't even imagine what those would cost for like New Year's Eve, but we don't have to get into that. They were like I think mine alone, and it was tiny. Like you can see this is probably the size of it. Like had enough for a bed. There was a little bathroom and like a little stand. There was no fridge or anything, right? It was so tiny. And maybe that's just, I was probably just claustrophobic in there and I'm like, in New York.
How much was it?
I think I paid it was cheap. Like it was like I honestly don't remember, $130 a night or something like that for being on Times Square in fucking New York.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And then, I rented it for 2 or 3 nights after that. But they were regularly, I think I shouldn't say regularly, but because it was so close to Christmas and New Year's and stuff like that, those were selling for almost over $1,000 a night.
Are you freaking serious?
I'm not even, maybe mine wasn't per se, but there was another competitor that had another suite that overlooked Times Square and hers was I think it was like $1,500 a night. Well,
they got money.
Yeah, well, she wasn't renting it at that time, but they increased the prices,
okay.
Right?
Afterwards, yeah.
Or renting it, but they increased the prices for that. And so, I maybe paid, $500 for the 3 days or whatever to stay in that point, but you had been paying that like a night or $800 a night for New Year's. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Ugh. Anyways. But yeah, I could definitely see how that would, for people that went to sports. And I've also, known some competitors to have quit after. I don't know if those are all the reasons why, but not placing as best as they maybe would have liked, and maybe in their mind feeling that was, deserved, that they were going to get that they had done all this work, and then maybe they're just, maybe their physique, something went, awry on show day and they didn't come in as quite what they wanted to look like, or maybe there just happened to be another competitor that was just a little bit more dialed in than you, or had, a little bit more conditioning than you. And I could definitely see, and I've known people to be like, well, do I keep doing this to not get any farther? Right. But like I said, that trip for me was more, it was a lot of things other than just competing. It was kind of like, fly, little birdie.
Yeah. Freedom.
Do your thing.
Freedom.
Yeah. And so that's a really good question. I'm really, I don't know if I should say blessed or proud of myself, maybe that hasn't like you'd been a downfall for me of being like, oh shit, like I placed dead last, it's like, that's like, okay. I was more just excited because I'm like, those girls that look really jacked, I was on stage with them.
See, that's like, everything's an opportunity.
It is.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can either look at it as an opportunity to wallow in your own pity and be sad and upset, or you could look at it as like the view that you're looking at it from. It's like, you got to experience all these things in New York. You got to meet these people, but you also, you dipped your toes in the water. And so now you like kind of know what that entails. So what was it about Vegas though that made you feel a little bit sour afterwards?
Wasn't sour. I think there was just a bunch of things in that Vegas trip, and I never want to make any of it sound negative, but so I was, went by myself. I had a friend come and meet me there. I have always just kind of done the competing thing by myself. Even when I was in a relationship, I was just very like independent with it. I was, pretty separate with it. And so when I would go places, I would just, more or less go by myself, and it just was easier for me. It was like less things I really had to like worry about. And so Vegas was different because it's Vegas, and have you
been before this?
I've been to Vegas before. Yeah. A couple of times, but how do you explain? You've been to Vegas. You have not been to Vegas?
I've never been to Vegas.
What?
Yeah, I've never been.
Okay. All right. Curtis, you need to go to Vegas after this. So Vegas, if you think of anything goes.
Okay.
Literally anything
what
goes.
Stays or what happens in Vegas.
Right?
In Vegas.
Yeah, okay. That's essentially what it is. So you can like drink on the street. You can go get any amount of food that you want. It's America, so their portions are freaking massive. There's literally no rules, more or less. You can drink and smoke and do whatever and whatever, wherever, anytime you freaking want. It's like the city that doesn't sleep, more or less. And so, here you're going for a show where you have to be dialed in for a certain day, but you got to get there a few days earlier to let your, sodium and water stuff play out from the plane, get any inflammation down, get set up. Cause that's the thing, any stress, cortisol, you're going to retain water from it. So you're trying to like balance all these things in this freaking resort where everybody is just hammered and smoking and doing shots around you. And it's just fucking, it was just nuts. It was so freaking nuts. But it's also kind of cool, and this is like maybe the vanity side of it. And you should get Nathaniel in here because him and I, we were troopers in New York. In Vegas. He's probably going to laugh about this. Yeah. So he came with me, and his wife still laughs at us.
Was he competing?
He was competing, okay, yeah. But I'm going off on a random topic again. Like I explained, you're a bunch of delinquents in the freaking airport. You're hungry. You're trying to look for a coach, whatever. We're Team Canada. We were at the international airport in Calgary leaving. And because of COVID, you needed an app, you needed all this other science stuff. So I was like lost. And this is now the second time I've ever just traveled by myself somewhere internationally. So I was lost. I was really freaking lost. Leo and Charlotte have their 2 kids. They're trying to deal with everything and get going.
They're in Vegas too?
They're going to Vegas too. Yeah. With the 2 kids. And they're the president. So they're trying to coordinate all this. And you have all of us like following them. Like, can you help me? So the reason why I bring this up is that Nathaniel and I at one point was talking to his wife, Miranda. We're all like really good friends, and she also comes to the gym. And so she was like, you guys need to like stick together. We're like, we're gonna. Okay. So after that, him and I were like, we were both half of a brain. So us put together, we were like a little bit better. Yes.
2 wrongs make a right.
Oh my God. It was like that first day. Well, I won't go into crazy stuff, but we like couldn't find our microwave. We got to the airport. We went.
I love how it's always microwave.
microwaves. Yes. And so of course, Vegas, they don't have microwaves in your rooms. They want you to go and buy stuff or whatever, right? So they're not going to have fridges or things like that for you to make it cheaper. So you can ask to have one in there. But we're in a host hotel in freaking Vegas that all the other competitors are at. So everybody is asking for a freaking microwave. And at this point, the hotel is just like, no. No, we don't have a freaking microwaves. Like, what's wrong with you people? Anyways. So Nathaniel and I I love that I said I wasn't going to get into it. I'm totally getting into this. Nathaniel and I decided that we were going to go to Target. So we were going to find a Target to go get microwaves and be the heroes.
That's like a Winners here, or what is that?
Oh, yeah. So we used to have Targets here in Calgary. Yeah. And then they didn't do super well. And so they're kind of like kind of like a Winners, I guess.
Yeah.
American version, I guess. Kind of like a Walmart. They're supposed to be better priced.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess.
So you went on a hunt for a microwave?
Yeah. So and part of that, we had pretty much walked the entire strip from wherever our hotel was. We were staying at the Lynx. So we had walked the whole length or whatever. And we went to 7-Elevens. We went to smoke shops. We went to all this stuff just to see if they had a microwave, random stuff. No, we went to a restaurant to see if they would let us use their microwave. Like this was meanwhile, Leo will laugh at this. There was a microwave in with the judges, like where we have to go and get like our polygraph and stuff done before competing. They had a microwave in there. So this entire time we could have went over there and just used it for that day to heat up whatever we needed to eat. But no, Nathaniel and I decided to go, I think it was like close. He maybe couldn't comment better on this, but like 15 hours without eating since we got off the plane.
Are you serious?
It's because we couldn't find a fucking microwave. And at one point I had like a baggie of food that I was trying to heat up on a metal grate on the strip.
You really are delinquent.
I know. I'm like, if anyone's looking at us right now. But anyways, prior to getting on all to that, just like the difference of going or whatever, I would usually always do my hair the night before I compete. So the next morning I can literally just take it out, fix any curls, deal with any of my makeup. Cause you're also like timing out your tans and timing out your foods and getting in, some, walking or whatever to try to increase your knee, and you're doing all this stuff. And so I found that was a little bit different, kind of threw me off, but I was also super thankful for it once I got done competing, because usually everything's closed when you're back here in, Calgary, or I've competed in Edmonton before. But Vegas, everything is just getting started.
Yeah, okay.
So, you get off a stage at, I can't even remember what time we got finished, but like 11, 12.
At night?
Yeah, or maybe it wasn't quite that late, actually. We got done a little bit earlier. I want to say that we were probably off and done by like 10, I think.
Okay, still.
Might have been a little bit earlier.
It's still pretty late.
Some of the shows, but you got to think they have sometimes more than 200 athletes going through, and all in different divisions, right? But you go through all the male bodybuilding, the lightweight, heavyweight, and then you get into physique, and they might have, 3 different heights, and then you get into all the figure and female bodybuilders, and then bikinis are all the bigger shows, right? They usually typically have more people in them, but yeah.
Well, it's bikini and open bodybuilding that bring the most spectators, isn't it?
Yeah. I guess that would be fair to say. I don't know, maybe like what Leo would chime in on that, but I'd probably say the same, and mostly because bikini is like, so bikini, and I don't mean this like, obviously I compete in bikini. What people don't understand why not many people get into figure and the other bodybuilding is because of just that. Those girls have like the uttermost muscle mass that you could obtain. So like, for example, me, I can't just show up and compete in figure. I am not big enough. I don't have enough muscle mass to do that, right? And so bikini tends to be a little bit, in that sense, easier to get into for individuals, especially for novice, just because you're not requiring as much muscle mass. And hopefully I said that with right degrees, but, for that sake, that's why, there's a lot of newer people going into it. So more people then come to watch them for that. And you're right. Bodybuilding is the other one. And cause they put on such a show, it's super cool. I love watching, the bodybuilding side of it. They get, their whole, I think it's like 1.5 or 2 minutes on stage. They get their own routine. they get to wear costumes if they want to or whatever. And they get to do it to their own music. And it's just phenomenal to see what someone can do with a physique.
You know, and that's like, I want to comment on that because a lot of people scoff at bodybuilding, and for like, I understand for many, many reasons. Once again, we talked about it earlier. Why would you put yourself through this? You know,
vain sport, yeah.
Yeah. Why would you, the skimpy outfits, or then like when you're talking like out of the Natural Federation, then you're talking drugs and abuse and everything. But at the end of the day, if you are someone, once again, I've never stepped on stage, so I can somewhat live up to the point of getting stage lean, but not after that. So even then though, I can appreciate, like when you see these individuals, it's even like some men like, I don't like muscular women.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, like maybe I'm not sexually attracted to that, but I can admire, and I see beauty in that, the hard work that was put in, because people, it's not just even out of the Natural Federation. It's not you can't just take drugs and look like that. There's still hard ass work that needs to be put in, the mental toll, the money invested, like we talked about, and nobody thinks of that. No, it's just like we were talking about how like you're not going just to step on stage, it's the whole experience. On that other spectrum as well. Nobody's thinking about what all in it, because you never know what someone's gone through.
Yeah.
Right. And so you don't know the battles that they could have fought this entire prep, whether it was the food restriction and dealing with that, or whether it was like relationship stuff, or you don't know what goes into that.
Totally. Yeah. And that's what, again, going back to like when you're competing, like you choose to do that. And so regardless of like, you know, and again, the stage is always going to be there. And so if something were to happen in someone's prep, like someone, you know, a family member passes away or something like that, maybe that's just something that is just at that point. It's a very mental sport. So if you're having something that's taking that energy, then, you know, maybe that's the priority for this period of time. And I guess I'm just saying that because, you know, people might, and maybe some people wouldn't, I don't judge them. But maybe on those sense, it might be the thing like, well, you know, should I compete because of this happening? And it's just like, well, in that case, like the stage is always going to be there. Take your time. Yeah. You know? And that's what I tend to tell a lot of, we were kind of talking when we first started all this, just why I don't mention it, or, you know, people when they start talking about it, as I always say, like, cause it's always this like, well, I'm interested in competing. I'm going to compete this year. And what is this? We're getting into, or April now. I'm going to compete in October. And you're like, okay, you're interested in competing. Amazing. You want to learn about the sport. Amazing. Do you need to then pick the first competition that's within a couple months? Because again, I know it's the excitement, but the stage is always going to be there. Do your research, find a good coach, learn all this stuff, the goods and the bads, take what you want from it, and then check out your stage date, check into federations, check into things like that before just embarking and saying like, I'm going to wear a bikini and get on stage.
Well, I was going to say, how many people have expressed their interest of competing to you, but never actually went, hey, Tia, you know, tell me from point A all the way to point Z what's going on.
Like everybody.
Nobody does.
Yeah.
They're just, oh, you said it yourself. Yeah. Bikini, stage, whatever.
Yeah.
And they don't, that's exactly it. Like when you say do your research, it could be as simple as just asking someone who's been in 9 or 11 shows, you know what I mean? And like, once again, I think too, it's that, especially in, because I want to kind of transition into this conversation, the social media realm. I think a lot of people see that. They're like, oh, well, if I step on stage, I'm going to get a bigger social media following, which is true, right? We can't deny that. But like you said it yourself, that can't be the only reason that you are doing this. You have to do it for the right reasons. But as mentioned, transitioning to that conversation, although you kind of keep to yourself about the bodybuilding, like being a competitor, bikini competitor and stuff, did you notice that did help in some aspects of your business?
Yeah, more so on, I'm not going to lie, more so for me on the knowledge side of things. I think even working with, just everyday individuals, that just having that slightly higher degree of, I guess, science when it comes to that stuff has just really helped with just like everyday people, even though they're not aiming to compete on stage or anything like that, but you can still take some of the similar concepts with that, if that makes sense. Sorry, what was the question again?
So has the bikini competing
helped with the yes. And I'm not gonna lie, and I fought with myself for quite some time. And I still don't post that well on social media.
So you don't post a lot, actually.
No, and I'm trying to get this is my own thing. I'm trying to get out of my funk and doing this. I've just been in such a, like I said, I went through a crazy breakup before. And so I was kind of, you're entering social media to be transparent and yet provide something for your business. But at the time, I think I was having a really hard time with how transparent to be, just because I felt so fucking broken. I'm going through a breakup, losing my house, basically having the COVID happening, and then having to start completely all over. And here at that time, I wasn't really strongly online in terms of nutrition coaching, but like COVID kind of pushed you that way. And so you have all these degrees that I was just like, oh my God, mental health right now. I'm not ready to embark on this social media and putting this all out there. And so I'm still kind of in that range where I'm starting to talk about stuff more now, but just also figure out how, you know what I mean? And with regards to that, I got to a point where I'm like, I am getting older. And there is going to be a time where I'm not going to be this age anymore. And so because of that, I'm like, I want to be proud of the freaking what I've done so far. So if that's my competing, and I'm proud of, a physique that I got to, even though it's not a look that I strive for on an everyday basis. I like food, like I said. But I did start posting, a few more photos of that case, and that is what people are interested in sometimes. Unfortunately, when I say unfortunately, it's yay for you, but it's one of those things, and you understand this. It's like the goods and the bads of this industry, right? Mm-hmm. You're trying to be transparent with things, but at the end of the day, people are fascinated by things that you don't see on an everyday basis. So, someone's super lean, some are, especially being a female and you're all dolled up or whatever. And so I do, and I hate to say this too sometimes, but it is true being, having that face of competing, it's also kind of gave you a little bit of credibility in a sense. I hate to say that and that's why I don't bring it up, because I don't want people to think that goes a lot out there where people competed once or two times and then they're like, I'm a coach. And you're like, how are you? Flu
and throw up and lose a couple of pounds. Hey, sign up for meal plans.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Or you have, and I know competitors too that you're like, their meal plan was eating nothing but, tilapia and spinach, or I don't know. I just threw that in there. But and I did that. If I had to eat like that, I probably wouldn't compete either.
Yeah. So I'm surprised that you said that you need to be, or you're wanting to be transparent with social media. Cause I find it's the complete opposite. Most people are putting on a show for social media, which is interesting, because think of how that will affect you. It's like women using filters, and men too. Sorry. Everybody using filters though. Cause you do this filter, you're like, oh man, I look good. Then you post it on social media. Then you go look in the mirror, I don't look like that at all. Right. I can't imagine what that does to the psyche of some people.
And it's funny. And maybe this is all my things are probably in-depth stuff, but
so we had our bathroom break and our cough drop break. Pull this a little closer. There you go. We don't have that close. So we were talking about the transparency.
Social media.
And filters between men and women, and how that might mess with people. And because you were mentioning that you are trying to be transparent on social media.
It's tough. And when I say that, it's not like we all embark to lie about anything, but I'm also, and there's, again, when I say trying, I'm not even trying hard right now. I need to get back in the boat of actually posting and stuff. I'm pretty good with stories, but for me, my storage on my phone right now is full. And so you can't save videos sometimes. So it's really hard for me to save after each, after each workout that I do and show. And some coaches do, and they're amazing with it. They diligently, video every single part of their workout. And so when I guess it's maybe not fair for me to say I'm trying to be transparent, because I'm not trying to do any of those things. I want to be able to do those things. And for the simple, just transparent in general, I think and that's kind of like why I showed up today. I'm not really doing anything with myself. I did think about it. I was like, I'm going to put some makeup on and I'm going to feel really good for on camera. What do I wear? Like these tights, whatever. These are my favorite tights. No, I pulled these out of the laundry basket this morning. I did shower last night. I did not wash my hair, but we got some dry shampoo in here. No, and it's not to go in looking gross, but it's just like, I was at the gym this morning. You saw me. I had 2 clients and I had to work out. Also up and at the freaking gym by like 6:45 this morning, like a crazy person. And so for me, it was just like, this is how everybody sees me at the gym. And even for this, I'm kind of going off on a tangent right now. Totally fine if you want to get dolled up for photo shoots and stuff, but that has always been my problem. I've always gone and done this stuff, but it's not my usual. So it's easy to not feel comfortable because you're not used to being.
Sorry, say again. It's easy to not feel comfortable.
Yes, for me.
So if you get dolled up, you don't feel comfortable.
Yes, depending, because that's not what I wear. And when I say don't feel, you do feel good and better, whatever. But I'm just saying it's not your usual, right? And so. So anyways, that's why today I was like, you know what? This is how everybody sees me at the gym. I don't normally wear makeup. I have rosacea, so my face is usually red or whatever, but like, hello.
Well, like I said, you are definitely your own worst critic, right? And there's so much like pressure placed upon, especially women, especially
and men.
Women,
Yeah. But
right?
yeah.
Like, cause it's like, when you talk about social media and the reason that pressure is there, well, comparison, but like, it's like what we just said, look at the followers. Some women, like I was saying this to Noah was on the podcast yesterday. And I said to her, I was like, well, I'm doing my research because I'm really trying to grow my Instagram. Like I've been posting 5 times a week. I've been making reels and like putting lots of effort into this. And what the one guy said, he was like, okay, go do your research of like, some of the top fitness accounts and see what they're doing and then kind of just like mimic that or whatever. So I Googled top fitness accounts and this Jen Settler or something came up, right?
Oh my, okay, yeah,
and it's just her butt in the air all the time, right? And I'm like, all right, well now I see what I need to do, right? But that's the thing. You're gonna have
Curtis
a woman,
buys booty shorts.
yeah, right? You're gonna have a woman that is like, okay, well, I really want to grow my following. I'm trying to grow my business. I would like this validation attention because we all love it. So I'm gonna go search, and then now they see this. Okay, maybe they don't have a bum like that Jen woman or whatever. And so then that's when it's like, then that's when you can get like the lying.
Yes.
Right? Whether it's photoshopping, whether it's like crazy angles, butt pads.
Yes.
And then,
I wish I could
imagine their brain after that.
Yeah. So I was going to laugh with the whole, when you were saying about angles and stuff, till this day, because the iconic, whatever they call it, but when girls try to take pictures of their glutes in the mirror and they do this very contorted thing with a leg back and they got a booty. I don't know if it's because I just have really long legs and a really short torso. I can't do that. I'm sure I could, but I physically can't do it. And so I laugh because you see these girls that have their, their picture or whatever. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. So
you ever watch like a group? And then it's like they're all kind of just like maybe slouch posture, everything. And as soon as someone pulls a phone out,
they're just like, yes. And I'm like, I'm probably just as bad. Today, probably. Same thing. I sat on here, and as soon as you came in, I'm like, okay. Sitting up and stuck your gun.
You know what I'm wearing right now? I call it a backwards brassiere. It's because, remember, I had my separated shoulder.
Okay.
So it's a strap that goes around here so I don't do this. So it actually keeps me in here and helps my shoulder. So because Matthew and I were talking about this and he's like, I've never actually heard anyone do that. And because you hear a lot of them are just a joke, which they kind of are. It's more of a reminder.
I was going to say, they don't physically do that, but it's more of a reminder for you to remember.
But with my separation, think of my arms way out more. So then this starts to hurt and my lat, because your lat's trying to keep the arm back. So with my backwards bra, it keeps me up like this, and I don't have neck pain, I don't have hip pain or anything.
I don't have neck pain. Yeah, you better tame those tots.
So so it puts me in this position or whatever, but it's it's comforting, that's for sure. But you're right, because when a camera's not on, when a phone's not around, when people aren't around, that's when we're just belly out and everything.
No, it is true. And I think in that is especially as I get older and I'm not above anybody else. I'm still on that same side where we post the most flattering angle or photo or whatever. And you don't see me doing a ton of lives on Instagram. And it's mostly because I said earlier, I'm just like not good with public speaking, and I should get better with those things and stuff. I send like live stuff to my clients all the time. Like I said, videos, and I'm perfectly fine doing that. I just don't like not sending it out to the world. But like in general, for just kind of, to be blunt, like the fakeness sometimes on Instagram can, I think, me coming, maybe not so much now, but definitely growing when I was like younger and stuff. You see these things and you don't have that level of like, is this real or not? You see things as what they are, and you just assume everyone's being super genuine and that is the truth and everything like that. And it's not. Probably, 9 out of 10 times, it's not the reality, right? Someone getting, and I'm also not pooping on anybody that when they do a gram of like my morning routine or whatever, and they have them, and you see lots of influencers, whatever, making fun of these and stuff too, of someone like yawning and getting out of bed. And I always joke, because I wanted to do a real one where it's just like my lashes are probably stuck to my face sometime, right? Eyes half open with goo, whatever, right? You're drooling. Though that's real, but no one sees that. And so I guess I'm kind of going off on a tangent right now. For being a female and being in a world where just comparison is just I hate to say that, but just like a natural form of our society, that it would make you feel bad because you see all this stuff. But as soon as I got older and started learning that not all of it is true, I think that's where I'm at right now, is how much do I give a flattering or attractive spin on Instagram, and how much of it is you just being you. You know what I mean? And not saying like you need to. Then the other ways, girls feel like they can only post non-flattering stuff and show all this stuff because that's now real. And I feel like there's a good concept to both, but there's got to be like a balance also for yourself. It doesn't have to say anything to everybody else, or it doesn't mean anything necessarily to anybody else if you post a photo of yourself that you really like. Yeah. That happens to be a flattering, picture or angle or whatever. Honestly, like that, if that makes you feel good, amazing. Mm-hmm. And so it's not bad that you're posting stuff, but if you're posting that to be like your perfect morning routine, that's this like, is it? Yeah, exactly. Like, is that what you really do? Know what you're doing, right? Or they say like, this is how, follow what I eat in a day. And that's like, I tell my clients all this time, because I used to do like, and I don't find anything wrong with this, that coaches do this, but they'll, say like what I eat in a day, which is great. Maybe, they're just giving an idea to their clients of what's normal. Do you eat like that every single day? Mm-hmm. I am a nutrition coach, and I can tell you right now, I do not. Yeah. Right. And so that perfect post isn't going to show, obviously I stay in, I practice what I preach, and that's the whole goal of it. But like, I had a pizza for lunch and supper last week that I'm not going to lie about. Yep. And, clients ask like, well, what'd you have for this? I'm like, well, this is what I ate. Yeah. And it's not, but I'm also just trying to be realistic with it. Right. Like anyways. So I just find, I almost lost my train of thought again. So I just find that if you can be relatable in that sense, maybe that's a better word of saying it, relatable.
Yeah. And actually that's what like Noah and I were talking about yesterday, because I was telling her about like my ex is a wellness competitor, but I always remember the comment she made, because she struggled with when you have to take the time to put on weight and everything, in the off season. And, but she did better with her clients during that time because it was more relatable. Right. Mm-hmm, but I also want to comment on like, it'd be different with the social media, like whether people are faking it or not. When we compared, if we compared differently, meaning like, when like you had like younger males that had posters of Arnold Schwarzenegger in their bedroom, that was their motivation. Right. And that was what like made them want to work out and get big, or in that context. Or you had, maybe a motocross person, you want to be good at motocross or whichever. Now, because like the way society's going, we're becoming more and more negative, and it is just a survival mechanism. I don't think a lot of people are aware of that. It's actually a survival mechanism. So when you're constantly stressed, you're constantly in that fight or flight mode. So that's where negativity comes from,
yeah.
right?
Well, and like victim mentality and all that stuff, right? But anyways, yeah.
So when we look at something, instead of going, oh, like either one, like good for her kind of thing, or two, like, oh man, like, you know, I would like to look like that. Let's make the necessary changes in my life to get there. Instead, we feel inferior, right? And then that's when we do start to, you know.
And that's that's another tough one too, right? Because it's like, it's okay to have something that you're like, this is interesting. This is a, you know, maybe not this per se is my goal, but like I'm interested in getting, you know, here, whether that's stage or at this certain thing. And I'm just meaning that because, you know, I've had also quite a few people, you know, doing consults and first working with people that'll come in and have a picture and they'll say like, I want to look like this person. And they're,
is it
you know,
normally a competitor they're showing?
Yeah. Sometimes it is.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's somebody that they pulled off of Instagram that had a very flat, everything we just talked about earlier. They look super lean. It's a super flattering photo or whatever they're doing. And then you have to start asking those questions like, well, is that realistically what they look like? You know, it's a big difference from a, you know, girl just standing normal to a girl posed with her hip out or whatever, right? Like it might be our natural stance, but we're not always like showing that. It's not like real life stuff, right? If that makes sense. And so yeah, you'll have someone that'll come in and show a picture of someone that's like 5'7" or 5'9", my height, and they're a bikini, whatever, and they have long, thin legs and whatever, and they're, you know, maybe 5'4" and not built the same at all. And they're like, I want to look like this person. And you're like, wow.
Specifically the height.
Yeah. And you're just like, well, like let's like start to break this down again. I was kind of going off another topic, but like, again, why? Like let's actually look at realities of stuff and start small.
And that's the hardest conversation to have when someone comes in showing you somebody and saying they want to look like that. Because
you're also trying not to defeat them, but you have to be realistic with them.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's kind of a necessary thing because I definitely know like I'm maybe not the coach for everyone, right? And so that's a good time where you can kind of filter who you are actually going to make a good impact with and who's going to work with you well. And maybe those that, you know, that don't want to accept that, or maybe they want to go to another coach that are, I don't want to say this rudely, but might push them in another direction. Maybe it's a whatever, right? But maybe they're willing to do what you're not necessarily with them kind of thing, depending on their mentality. But yes, if someone comes in and they're like, I want to be here, I want to do this, and I want to look like them, it's like, let's like readdress this for a second.
Yeah.
Like, why?
Yeah.
What are your whys?
And I like that you bring up like the coaching aspect and like going to somebody else and stuff. Cause like a lot of the times over the years, I've always said that like, I haven't been a good coach, right? Like everybody's like, oh, you got this knowledge and everything. And I was like, that doesn't mean diddly squat if you cannot, you know, put that into application. That's where coaching comes in.
Yes, it's tough. And honestly, I don't know what this says about for other coaches, but that's still some areas that I even still struggle with sometimes with people. And I also think it's just like a coach's mentality, right? Because you're suddenly, and I feel like we're also sensitive to it because of how many negative cases there's been of coaches overstepping maybe their role in people's life or overstepping their scope of practice and putting people in very detrimental states or teaching them things that are maybe more influential of like eating disorders or not a healthy mentality or not a healthy way of looking at things or, you know, food restriction or things like that. You know, you kind of, you have to really like look at that stuff. But like part of our coaching, we're also just like really freaking hard on ourselves because you are suddenly kind of this main portal for somebody or this main foundation for somebody. And you're just hoping that you're making the best calls. And so I've actually, you know, switched my mind frame quite a bit more over the last years, probably ever since COVID. COVID changed a lot of people's ways of thinking stuff. And whether, you know, you've kind of gone back because the world's kind of back to normal now, but I've tried to like keep those or adopt them or adapt to them or whatever. And one side of that is that even though I am a coach, I try to take off that responsibility. Let me explain, not that I still don't have it, but to ask questions and ask better questions to the client, because anything that I'm not necessarily sure of, I can find a way better answer or path or route or something by getting information from them. And so if I have, again, just, it's about questions, and I'm still learning that, right? Because sometimes like you might not know a call to make, or you might make a call in the best interest, but not maybe missed a slight piece of information. And so it doesn't hurt to like be open with clients. I'll always tell them like prior, just kind of going on a tangent again, but like, you know, I'm working with someone right now that when she first came into me in December, it was like, I want to lose weight. I want to do this. I want to do this. And at that point, we have no idea how much she's eating. We have no idea food habits. I have literally no idea about her. So I'm like, let's start with learning what these are, getting you more, what's the word I'm looking for? Just like associating with food, how much you're having, ratios, just like, let's get you on that again and then see what we're going to do. And, kind of going off in a spiel, you understand this. If a female is like eating really low for a long period of time, or maybe excessively dieting or whatever, like it's extremely hard just to put them into a weight loss phase or a deficit or anything, because their body is just not working for them at that point. You know, whatever the state of their hormones or whatever, stress management or anything like that. And so with her, it was that I am not going to start you in a weight loss phase. And they kind of just like look at you like, but I'm coming to you to give me what it is that I'm asking for. I'm like, but I am with regards to this. But I always try to explain all that stuff and be transparent and let them know all of that stuff first and like let them decide. And at that point, I'm like, if you think I'm kooky or up on the crazy train and someone else is going to preach something that's along the lines of whatever it is that you're wanting, then amazing, then go do that. But if you want to, like I said, you know, have a more of a longevity side of things and learn healthier ways to, and more maintainable ways to go through stuff, then this is maybe the route that's for you, but it's like their choice kind of thing. And so anyways, that was kind of the thing with her. And so now we're just getting to a point where we're kind of talking about a cut and what that would look like. But like everything we were just talking about, that we literally dove into, you know, to them, it's great. I'm going to start losing weight. I'm going to see the sales start going down. Yeah. Well, we're going to plan this out to be however many weeks long. And, you know, your calories are going to look like this. It's going to, you know, and so once you start picking all that stuff out, suddenly they're like, I'm like really liking that I see food as fuel in the last little bit. And I finally just got to a place where I'm eating 1,800 calories and I'm maintaining weight. Maybe I'm like not ready to lose weight right now. And I'm like, amazing. Okay, fine. And when I say amazing, it's not that I'm trying to talk anybody out of whatever, but like, you know, that's kind of our job. Like what's realistic for them at that time. If I had promised her weight loss when she first started coming in, then like, where would we be now? You know, if we couldn't get to that, I promised something that she's now paying me not to do. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. I always tell my clients, I say, no matter what we do, whether we are bringing calories up, changing the workout program, everything is still geared towards that initial goal you came to me for. Yeah. I always say that. And so I wanted to ask too, okay, so you said about like, in your experience as a coach, and you were talking about taking responsibility off and whatnot, and we were talking about like the competitors on stage that people don't know what they go through. I don't think people give coaches enough credit either about what they go through, and more than just like trying to have a knowledge capacity and implement things. It's like you become a glorified therapist. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. Like you said yourself, we signed up for this. Yes. But so what do you do to not become, because I'm sorry, you are an emotional person, right? So what do you do?
All the boys that work with me.
To not become overwhelmed? Like, how do you stay on track?
That's like a good question. I think this is still something, it definitely has gotten easier as I've gotten older. And I don't know, I've never said my age on here, but I'm turning 36 soon, like in a week. And so, over that time, like I'm like 4 years from 40, it's like, I've had a long time to like grow compared to when I was in my, you know, late 20s, early 30s kind of thing. And so I definitely have like my own tools now. I've learned, I love that every time you ask me something, I always go off in a direction, but I'm totally going to bring it back. So I'm like an introvert. And so I find that
I don't think anyone would guess that from this podcast.
Right? I know, but it's just because I'm comforted and you're in your little like spaces. But like normally, like you should see me when I go home, I'm just like,
yeah.
Let me recoup for a couple of days or on the weekend. I'm like, don't talk to me. And then I like show up on Monday and I'm like, hi. Like, and everyone's like, oh, you're not an introvert. I'm like, oh, I am.
Yeah.
But I think like learning. So I never realized that about myself when I was younger. I always thought I was like an extrovert. And so I would just like give and give and give and give and all these energies. And then I would be resentful when I was tired and I couldn't really understand that. And, you know, obviously I like didn't get mad at my clients or anything, but I was also just like, you know, you kind of had this other like mentality, and I hate to admit that, but it's whatever. Now that I'm older and I've recognized that about myself, it's one of those things that like you have to realize like your controllables. So, and what I mean by that is like, this is a kind of a loaded question. If I am not getting sleep, not eating well, not staying on top of my shit, I'm probably not going to be the most patient, willing to listen person, you know, for clients. And so that's kind of a big thing for us to have to practice what we preach in order to be this person that can still show up every day for clients.
Sorry to cut you off. While you said that, so if you have poor sleep, all that kind of stuff, how much is that is full circle though? Like how many times has the clients driven that poor sleep and whatnot? Has that been an issue?
That's a good question. And maybe not. So, and then I think that again could be a whole circle. It all kind of depends on like what Leo mentioned, like your time management and stuff. Because as coaches, we need to kind of have our shit together if we are essentially helping guide someone else, right? Like if we don't really have our shit together, then how can I tell somebody to have an evening routine and things like that when I'm not following that? Yeah. And I admit sometimes I'm probably a hypocrite for that stuff too, but like, you know, I can compete and I can get into those worlds and I can do all that stuff, you know, on a daily basis. And that works for me. I'm not necessarily in the position right now where I'm learning how to eat again and, you know, to have a little bit more structure throughout my day. I can lax on that a little bit, but in terms of for just like showing up with clients, yeah, if I'm not doing all these things for myself, then I'm not like going to be a super sound foundation for them either. And so, you know, as far as I can still feel it. You know, by the end of the day, I can feel myself getting drained a little bit, but I also know like when I say controllables, I'm at a point in my career now that like my clients know me well enough that it's not like I'm like, shut up, but it's like, if we're in the session, I'm like, okay, like rest time's over,
yeah,
you know? Yeah. And then they're there to work as well. Right. And so sometimes I will direct that being back to their check-ins or stuff like that, if that's where we need to, address things. And so it's, if that makes sense, it's kind of depending on where you, where you want to touch on it with them. If it doesn't bother you, and that's, I've definitely had clients that have come in that not all the time, but that specific day, they had like a really rough day at work. And so at that moment, regardless of how tired I am, it's just a matter of like, I don't have to really give any energy, but I will sit here and like listen to you. And so that's kind of where I tend to go to like preserve me. I'm not necessarily, this is different from all my other personal relationships. I'm the fixer anyways, which with clients, I'm like, I don't need to fix you. Like I'm going to listen to you right now. And like most of the time, we're all adults. Most of the time, just like verbalizing something to somebody, they like figure their own stuff out. Usually, even if it's regarding something that I can help with, they're like, work was stressful today. I didn't get my normal afternoon meal in. I, could have got up earlier. Yeah, maybe I need to get up earlier tomorrow to like do this. And so that I'm not rushing at lunchtime or whatever. And it's like, it's literally like that process. They'll start off in like oh my God, this happened. And then like, well, I guess if I had did this, I would have maybe I'll try that tomorrow. And then it's just like, okay, so what are you going to do tomorrow then?
You didn't even say a word. Yeah, you didn't even say a word. And that's sometimes all that people need.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I find that, I honestly really just started doing that when I like kind of hit my mid 30s. So like, going on like 2 years now, which that is not something that I like knew how to do or practiced when I was younger, I'd always resort to like, what do you need right now? Or whatever, maybe like even more babying. And so I've definitely worked out of that because of my introvertness. I need to protect my energy. And so that is definitely like, it's taken a few years, but I love every single one of my clients right now. And they're all, again, they're respectful because I respect my time. And so they respect their time or my time. And yeah, it's just like a way happier world. But yeah, I think it takes some time to get there. You probably understand that.
Yeah, definitely. That's it.
And you can definitely have people that are a little bit more draining than others. And then that goes towards like us being coaches, what that introduction or consult then looks like. Cause that's a lot of times, I just like interrupted you and took off again. I typically will have a quick phone call with clients before I even work with them. A lot of times they're like referred or whatnot, or learn about me somehow, social media or whatever. And so by having that talk with them, honestly, it gives a good interpretation or even representation of what that time frame with that client might look like. And so it really helps me to see if I'm going to be a good fit for them and if they're going to be a good fit for me. And you don't want to say that as in like, you can't work with me, but it's more so like, if you're not going to, and I've definitely had clients like that, they come to you for guidance. So you give them guidance and they don't take it. They do the opposite and then they come back to you with how to fix whatever they did. And so you're constantly kind of on this cycle of like, I don't know how to explain that, but you're just like they want you to undo whatever it is that they had done. And you're like, at some point, I am that client. You're that client. God damn it, Curtis. Okay. Leo would definitely say I'm that client too. No, but during prep is like a different story. And probably us athletes are hard to work with.
Yeah. They're
needy and they have a relatively high knowledge of stuff as being coaches.
There's also ego involved.
100%. So you're tangled between like, well, I know this and I feel this and what I would do this. I mean, your coach is like, like, yeah. Anyways. Yeah.
But someone like Leo, that's like definitely not his first rodeo. So like when, maybe yourself or someone else is like, we'll just say acting that way.
Yeah. Oh, he'll call you out.
And that's what I mean by what makes a good coach, right? That's what makes a good coach is the ability to not only deal with that, but to like have that conversation with that individual and come to like an amicable solution that works best for them.
Coaching, I think it's like you said it just there. A lot of people look at it as one person having the reins to everything. Which, yeah, like we're the one with the knowledge and the backgrounds and everything and the experience. Yes, of course. But like the client is like the individual is the one that has to do it.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, it's easy for me to be like, yeah, sure, work out 6, 7, whatever times a day or whatever. But can they? Like, you know what I mean? So anyways, that's like, it's definitely that it's being a coach. You have the reins to a point, but it's that communication with that individual, right? That you are making the calls, but you're also making them based off of like, they're very much involved. Right. And so, yeah, that's definitely like, and I've even gotten more so, I don't know if you were like this when you first started coaching either. In my mind, when I first started coaching, it was just like, you have to be the bee, like you have to be the queen bee, you have to make all the shots and pretend you know everything and blah, blah, blah. And then it was like, after a time, I'm just like, yeah, I don't know, but I'm going to figure that out for you. And that seemed to be more
the pride aspect.
Yeah. But that like people seem to, they liked that more. They liked that you were honest, that you didn't know something and that you did your best to try to figure it out, opposed to being this know-it-all. Because like we cannot know it all. I don't care like how good you are. You can't know it all. Right. And so, yeah.
Well, once again, dude, it also differs. You could know it, but that doesn't mean how to apply it. Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's that aspect as well. Yeah. So before we wrap this up, what would you say for both? Are you done with me already? No.
I'm just bugging you.
Okay. Both as a competitor. Let's start with as a competitor.
Yeah.
What would you say for your own personal experiences are your biggest obstacles when it comes to competing? Oh
my goodness. There's probably
Is there self-doubt involved?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. And especially more now that I've like moved up I don't know what to call them, in tiers, or you're, a little bit more of competitive levels. But most of that, I think it's more pressure, but it comes from me. Like, it's not coming from anybody else. Like, no one's telling me like, you better win this or whatever. Right. It's more so just like for the first time ever starting to feel it more this year. And I think just because like, I don't have any excuses this year. I wasn't going through an accident. I'm very much being able to lift again. I decided I'm going to, they haven't like signed up or anything yet, but I decided I'm going to compete in October. And I'm, like I said, we're back to lifting now. And like, I don't have any excuses not to this year. And I'm also going to be on the pro show stage again. And so you're competing with all the pros, right? So you're not like, you have to bring your A game in a sense. So, which is also why we do it. And it's also really exciting, but that is definitely like, I've definitely thought about it on this time, like this rodeo this year is just like, oh yeah, there seems to be, there's like a little bit more stakes on the line right now. But that's also like why we do it too. Right. And so, yeah, there's definitely going to have to be more practicing and stuff this year to see what that's going to be like. But my biggest challenges, I would still say, is coming off show for sure. And just like trying to really reel in what my off season looks like in reverse dieting and stuff. Again, trying to find a happy medium between not wanting to go super long with staying lean and not wanting to put the weight on so quickly, because that can also just be like really hard on you mentally. Like I said, I'm not a big person whatsoever, but once your shirts feel a little tighter, especially like me, I hold my weight in my upper body. So it's like my lats, my arms, my back holds a lot of weight. Once that starts to feel tight, like your bras and stuff, you're kind of like, I'm a sausage, even though that's not like, you don't look like that at all. And another hard part so it's definitely harder coming off a stage. Like I mentioned all that. Another hard part that I never mentioned is kind of like the state that I'm in now, where I've been off for almost 2 years. I've had more than enough time to put on the weight. I'm actually sitting heavier now than I've ever sat before. I'm like probably close to like 155. But like, I feel good. And obviously I'm trying to think that that's maybe some mass that I put on, who knows? But you feel curvy. And so again, maybe females think I'm going to feel weird, but since I don't have like boobs or anything, like that makes you feel sexy. And again, maybe people are going to think I'm crazy, but after competing, so this will be like my 10th show this year, 11th show if I do it. I'm now no longer like chasing abs anymore. At this point, I want to see shoulder caps. I want to see what my glutes look like when they come in. I want to make sure that I'm doing better with just nutrients this time, having more vegetables, prioritizing those stuff. Instead, I'm like, at this full kind of feeling good and heavy and curvy. And I'm like, I got to lose weight now, and so it's it's all fun. It's all part of the process. But I think just where I'm at now, I've gotten comfortable in my skin. And so like, even though it's great to be lean and it's great to look defined and you get a lot of attention from people, which I just thought of another thing to add on after this. But yeah, you get all this stuff and it's great. But it's not the curves. When you start getting close to show date, you are so lean, you feel like a Scraggle. Like you just feel like a scrum ball. You're not, you look jacked, but you just feel tiny. And so your underwear is big, your bras are big, your tights are big. And so you just feel like this like melty little human. And so, like I said, this is the hard part for me now, because I'm like, I know I'm going to have to start cutting weight. I really like food. I really like the size that I am right now. And I'm just like, you're going to have to like deal with all those ups and downs again, but it's a choice. I pointed my finger at you because we had just mentioned,
you're talking about the attention of being
Thank you. That is something that I was going to mention earlier when we were talking about stuff. And then, sorry, we can end stuff after this, but that's another part that people don't quite understand is the attention when you get that lean and you're that close to stage date. So I didn't quite go into this with the whole Vegas thing, but like we felt like rock stars because you're walking through these hotels of just everyday people that are on there for holidays. So they're drinking and eating and smoking and doing all this
Melted
shit.
ice cream.
Yes. And there's smells of donuts and everything and whatever. And you are this tiny, jacked human that's tanned who stands out anyways in the middle of freaking winter. And so you're just the attention you get. And even being back home and not somewhere like that, in the gym, you obviously get a ton of attention. And I don't know if that differs much from being a female to a male. I don't know if you find that maybe more so just because females, like maybe that's more of some people see that as an attractive thing. Some people maybe, don't see the leanness as attractive. It depends.
I think it's a gender thing. So I think where you're at right now, you're going to get more attention from men.
Yeah.
And as you get leaner, you're going to get more attention from women.
Interesting. I could see that. I could see that too. And
I think it's
men like
the opposite
curves.
in men. The leaner a man gets, he gets more attention from men. Right? How'd you get those biceps or whatever, right? Like you see those memes where it's like you go to the gym, you think women are going to be all over you, but it's actually men, right? And then as you get bigger, that's where women were more interested in you.
Interesting. Yeah. I actually never thought about that. That is totally true. I never thought of that. So maybe that's the case too. But yeah, I've actually never really thought about that.
Well, it's interesting where you say walking down New York and all that attention, like obviously a different situation. But when I was in Japan, I only saw one other Canadian and American.
Caucasian,
Otherwise, it was all Japanese people. And this was when I had to be over 200. I was definitely over 200. I was like twice the size I was now. And it was like the Red Sea parting. Like they just all went around you and everything because you're like the biggest guy there. And it was also interesting because although I was saying like the Japanese are super friendly, you had the older generation, which was like, okay, you bombed my country until they saw the Canadian flag. Okay. Then you had the middle generation. They had the middle generation. They were very friendly, helpful, intrigued. And then you had the younger generation, not very intrigued, but they were all dressing like what we would call emo.
Okay.
Like the short, everything black, spikes, all that kind of stuff, because that's what Western was to them. And so they were trying to mimic that. So that just made me think of that when you said
that's interesting.
New York or whatever. So,
yeah.
But because you did say that there's some self-doubt.
Yeah.
What?
I don't even know if I got into that.
No, you never did elaborate. That's why I'm bringing it up.
Sorry.
So going into this prep.
Yeah.
What do you think is in the back of your mind that you might be doubting yourself?
Yeah. So and that's why I said I was going to come back on that. And I didn't. The big thing is just your own self pressure. Like I said, you're getting in a more competitive class. Kind of got higher up. More people know you. More people know when you're going to obviously compete on that timeline. People you generally have an idea of who you're competing against. Like I said, even though it's not a comparison, and you should always just go with you beating you in mind kind of thing. But that stuff all. And a little bit, again, from a lot of it's straining from the accident, to be completely honest. A part of me is did I put in the work? Did I grow stuff enough? Should I have taken another year off? Those are all kind of the self-doubts that play
so kind of doubting the physique.
A little bit, yeah. Not so much going into it. I'm usually fine like that. Sometimes around this time, so typically I've already kind of started prep, although the actual dieting portion I don't start that until about June. But like anything in January, I'm physically already starting to think about prep. I'm already starting to remember just little things. And people might think I'm crazy, and maybe not. Maybe other competitors do this too. But I start trying to dial in my timing of food. And again, this all changes when you start prepping, but just again, to get in that, even though I'm always in that habit, but just to get into that habit more specifically of when you need to eat, when you're eating, make sure you're having that. Because off season, hit or miss, some days I might skip a meal. Not that I'm still getting that meal, but just eat more in a later meal. But this time it's all about preserving your metabolism, right? So you're trying to eat within a few hours if you can, right? And so I start doing that. May I start, logging again. I've already actually started logging, but just having an idea of what your calories are at, where you're going to have to cut from, what are your ratios of stuff, how much fats and stuff. You always kind of have an idea, at least I do have an idea of that in off season anyways, but that all this stuff is getting it's getting from a range like this to like a range like this, right? So you really have to like dial yourself in. And so I find it, I call this like the mental portion of prep, where you're like preparing for that diet stage. And that sometimes can be a stressor too, because and every time I'm fine, like I said, this is going on. These will be like shows 10 and 11 and 12 this year, but if I do 3, but every time before I go to compete, every year it's a thought of, can you do it this year? Or do you want to do it this year? More so not can, but like, do you want to do it this year? Because if you're not into it, it's not going to be a very successful or an enjoyable prep.
Yeah.
And so you want to make sure, again, you're doing it for the right reasons. And so those are my stressors, or the doubts that I get in like their little stages. And of course, once you get a couple weeks out, you're at that point, I'm like, don't trip in your heels. Make sure you wear a bikini bite. And for anyone that doesn't know,
a bikini bite?
Oh yeah. So for anyone that doesn't know, bikini bite is basically, so it's like a skin glue. And so your suit doesn't move. So you're posing and stuff, like you don't want your like cheek to hang out of your suit, or you don't want, butt crack or something. You want that all to stay in place. And so, yeah, all that stuff starts to come, or like, did I do my makeup well or whatever? I'm probably adding more stress to myself because I do my own makeup and everything. So I'm like, if I just got paid someone else to do it, but I'm like, I'm saving money.
It's expensive.
It is expensive. It can be really expensive. Yeah. I think by the time, like in my hair, I just got it cut. So, and it's gross today, but, my hair is really fucking long. And so like I think the girls might charge a little bit more just cause there's so much to do of it. And like, you can go out there, have this big fucking hair.
Yeah.
And I'm like, by the time I get like my hair and makeup and everything, like that alone is all like, close to $500, if not. Right. And then, yeah, anyways. So I've definitely learned to do like cheaper versions of it. And I know other girls that have too, but sometimes you can't always. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't go all that way and then cheap out and then have like a really like, the makeup was done wrong, or you burnt your hair or something like that.
Exactly. That's the thing. Cause if you're doing it yourself, those again are more elements that could go wrong, right? Like, do you have, so the only reason why I do mine for WMBF is that I know the tanning team and I know the color of their tans, and I know what the color looks like on me. So I'm pretty confident of matching my foundations to that. But I competed with the CPA in 2021. And so
what's CPA?
So CPA is the Canadian Physique Alliance. And so they have both their open and their classic. And so I did both actually. The open is like non-tested, and then their,
that's what my clients did that. That's CPA,
and then they have the natural, which is, they were back-to-back shows. That's a whole other thing. Anyways, that's a very tough 2 days. But I chose it. So anyways, they have their own tanning team. So it's not like you're stealing tanning from other federations, more or less. It's just because they know the lighting of the stages, they know the judges, you know what I mean? So it's all kind of one. Whereas the CPA, they have their own tanning team. And it was the first time I ever competed with them, and I did not know the color. I did not know what it was going to look like on me. So for that show, I actually went and paid for makeup to get done. Yeah. And I think the first day that I did it, I did not. The girl I think she was just done with being there. It was, you have like 200, like I said, there was probably 300 competitors in that show. I don't even know. And a lot of them were bikini. By the time I think my makeup artist was the girl that was doing mine, I think she was just tired. And so you could tell like half her stuff was packed up already. And yet, which is kind of unfortunate because you pay this amount, right? Yeah. And you expect to get the same amount of time and effort or whatever as everyone else. But she seemed really done. So that first time I did not like my makeup at all. But the second day I did. But you have to take those risks with it too. But I was not going to try to match their tans.
They make bank by the sounds of it.
They probably do. And especially if people pay with cash, there's as much as it's an expensive sport, if you have sort of a niche in it. Oh God, don't go to Kurt. I'm just kidding. He's gonna be
trial and error.
I'll tan you.
Everybody's got to start somewhere, right? Okay, so now as a coach, what's like one of the biggest obstacles you run into
With competing?
Just as a coach, like with your clients, but like look at it too as that realm, because like you have to coach while you're competing. So is that an obstacle?
Yes.
Is coaching itself while competing an obstacle?
Both. And from lots of different angles. So one, just mentality wise, like we talked earlier, like you're tired and you're drained. You're also remembering that you chose to do this. So you're still trying to give that level of coaching that you've always gave even in off season. And also some clients are just that they've known me and that I've been competing for a few years now, that they just kind of know the draw. So you get a little bit of leniency in that department, but I also don't ask for it because again, you chose to do this. The other side is getting a new individual that you then have to have that hard conversation with. That like they're not, client, you mean? Or a new client. Sorry. Yeah. I think I said individual, but yeah, a new client that you have to have that hard conversation with, telling them why you don't think that they're in the best, like that weight loss is maybe the best starting plan for them at this moment, and why when you're prepping. Okay. Even though it's very different, new people don't really understand that. And so I find that's hard. Even though they don't maybe necessarily know that, but I don't know if I'm explaining this correctly either, but you tell somebody that weight loss should be not just changing body composition should be a lifestyle change. It should be habits that they adapt on a daily basis and things like that. So you're telling somebody to do something slowly, yet you're grinding to do something in a couple months. And so they see that and are like, like, why can't I do that? And you're like, well, you can. Is it realistic? Can you adhere to it? Can you be consistent to it? Are you going to hate me doing it? Are you going to enjoy the process? Right? So you have to ask them all these other questions. So I find that sometimes the biggest challenge is, just being, but again, if you can be transparent with all that, usually it's okay. But that's, especially with females, that's probably been the number one thing that's come up with me, is that they're like, well, you're competing now. Like, how come I have to wait a couple? And they don't say it like snotty like that, but they're just like, okay, understandable. So I can't like start losing weight right now. And you're like, well, we can start on that path, but we're going to, bring your calories up to a way, higher baseline than what they are right now, so that we have something to cut from. Otherwise, you know what I mean? And so most of the time people are like, oh, okay. Other times they're just like, what? So, and again, then you can choose if they're, going to be a person that's right for you or not. But yeah, that's what I find my probably biggest challenge. And the other side is, like I said, just the vanity side of it, is how much you're also trying to tell people that having abs doesn't mean that that's the ultimate health goal. And having abs doesn't automatically mean that you are healthy.
Yes.
That does not mean that you're healthy at all.
Mm-hmm.
What's your mentality around food? What's your eating habits? Like, those are all mean more with regards to that, but people don't necessarily look at it that way, if that makes sense. So yeah, I find that can also be challenging, if that makes sense. Did I finish that?
Kind of. Yeah. You're talking about the obstacle.
I'm getting tired now.
And well, so one quick question too. Yeah. Have you ever had to fire a client?
Yes.
And how was that?
Hard.
Was it?
Yeah, it's, so yes, it's been incredibly challenging. There was one really challenging one. So this happened like a few years ago, and I won't get into crazy detail with it, but, it was extremely challenging with this individual, and without me picking apart anything about the individual, I recognize at that time that it had came from me not setting clear, respectable boundaries for myself and for my business. That and again, you're young coach, you're getting started out, right? It's just like, you're like, yeah, come see me. And you're forgetting all these other things that I have very much have all these all in play right now. And it's probably why I have such great clients right now, but it took time to get there. And so, sometimes I've not had to fire anybody, but I have had to in the past. And for that reason alone, it's just, I don't think that I had a clear enough, I don't know if I should say vision, or maybe, intake process that, aligned this individual with myself. And once you get working with someone, you learn a lot more than just what's on the surface level, which is also amazing to our job. Cause I feel honored sometimes for the amount of shit that I get told. Is that is honored a good word? Yeah, I do. I feel honored because it's someone's respecting you enough to share this stuff with you, right? Even with you doing these podcasts, some of the shit that's shared with you, right? It does it not feel like an honor kind of that someo's I
told you that's why I like doing this.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of the same thing. I've learned that from the consult process. There's a lot of stuff that kind of happened in my childhood too that made me scared to ask questions with people and scared to make them upset or things like that, where you kind of have to learn that no one should be getting upset with you if you're asking the right questions and doing your part and stuff. So that was kind of my main thing of learning. And then ever since, you get those boundaries in place and you're true to yourself and all those things, then I haven't had to fire a client in a long time, which I'm really hoping that stays that. But again, that's because it's like we said, it's our energy too, right? If we sense that someone's not going to listen to a thing that we say and constantly, then is that beneficial for them? And is that beneficial for us?
Yeah.
Right.
And it's huge. When you say boundaries, because I can attest to that. I'm horrible with setting boundaries. I never,
you probably never learned it.
It's I've never had to be this is this and this is this. It's just whatever. And for example, you talk about the evening routine habits and stuff like that. I used to just text my clients later at night. So then all of a sudden when you're not texting them at night because you're trying to set that boundary, you've already placed that expectation. And so then it kind of backfires on you and everything. And so, setting that boundaries is huge. And I think a lot of coaches need to work on that.
Yeah.
Myself included.
And I love that you said, because sometimes I've done that too, where I'm oh shit, this is, again, years ago that you start doing something, and even maybe now no more so you're always also with coaching, you're always trying to find something new to do or bring to the table or how to add value or whatever. And so there'll be sometimes that, I'll adopt something and you'll maybe notice that it's not taking you in the direction that you want to go. And I would often be crap, I did this again. What do I do? But it's like you said, it's been really easy then to recognize that. And then just communication is huge. I'm a over communicator. Anyways, that's probably why I trick people into thinking I'm an extrovert, just because I'm a chatterbox sometimes when I want to be. But that went a long ways of just being able to communicate to somebody of not necessarily, I just thought of another thing to mention. But anyways, it's I do have ADD. But no, just communicating in general, but just being open with somebody. It's they would rather that than, for example, I messed up. This is actually a real thing. I messed up on somebody's, just their nutrition sheet. I use Google Docs or whatever, but I had messed up on something. I'd sent them the wrong sheet and, didn't quite look at it until, they had obviously messaged me when they went to use it. And it was just this isn't whatever. It wasn't a big deal by no means, but, being able to again, just, oops, sorry, I'm human, whatever. Not that you have to say that, but I've just found that being able to be, again, that transparent and just open with clients. I don't feel I need to be perfect all the time. And so that helps with, if I go a route that maybe I think is not ideal, I will then tell them right away and be actually, this is my plan with this. And I'm going to try this other thing. And as long as I explain that, then they're okay. And then they're well, and then they can ask questions or whatever. But that I feel is helped me a ton in that regard. And I've just lost my train of thought of the other thing that I thought of as we were just
You're talking about extrovert communicating a lot. Chatterbox when you want to be.
Yeah, it'll come back to me.
Well, I Leo had a good saying or whatever. It's not trial and error. It's trial and experiment.
I like that.
Take the negative notion out of it.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and that's what I tried to relate to my clients, because I had a client the other day who was quite frustrated with just his health. He's under a lot of stress. And I told him we need to do this. And he took that as trial and error. It's not trial and error. This is part of the procedure.
Yeah.
But I was I already knew what the outcome was going to be. I said, because that's trial and experience.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I just can't even call it trial. It's just experience, right? I said to him, I was it's not trial and error. It's not trial and error, right? Because the thing is error would be turning left onto the wrong way onto a one way, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah. Like,
you're
it's
not getting anything out of it. We're here, we're learning. We're learning how your body is responding. We're learning how you're mentally responding to this, and we're taking that information away. So it's never an error. It's never an error.
That also goes in hand with just like the challenges with working with individuals. Everybody wants, kind of going back on that, everybody wants to think that they can come to you and it's going to happen within like a month of whatever it is that you're looking for. And, you know, with our jobs, it's also hard because you're like, we can also get in that rage of like gimmicky sales kind of thing, when it's just like, I'm not trying to sell you anything, but like, this whatever it is that you're looking for may realistically take months to a year. And that's another hard part, because like people don't want to hear that, and they think like, and then add in you're competing and you're doing this in 3 months, and they're like, what? You're telling me to wait a year? And you're like,
because like I work with a lot of like gut health issues, and they can take a very long time to resolve before the person even starts to see body composition changes.
And that would be trial and experience too, right? Because it's you gotta. Everybody's
body shifts. They can shift hourly in some instances.
Yes.
Like when you work with, are you familiar with like what mycotoxins are?
No.
So it's like a metabolite of
I shouldn't say no, but I don't like work with those.
Yeah. So it's like a metabolite of mold, which can like significantly impact the central nervous system. So you literally have people like, you know, those people that feel really good 1 minute, then like shit the next.
Yeah. I'm sensitive to molds.
Probably like, is that situation, especially when they go into their environment. So when you're working with that, there's like so much involved. And then the mind is just so powerful that it's like, if you were a robot, we could solve this in 6 months.
Yes.
But you are not. You are a human being. So it's going to be 12 to 16 months.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and like you said, human being, we're still, those individuals, they're still dealing with their family, their job, their personal and everything else on it. And yet they're still trying to learn and get on top of a new regime or something that's new to them or whatever. And so it's not as easy as like, yeah, sure. If you lived no life and you didn't have to work and this is the only thing that you have to focus on, sure, we can do this in 2 months.
Yeah.
Right. But that's like, that realistically is not your life. And that's why people are so hard on themselves, and why they don't, you know, why they quit so early, or why they don't stick it out or stay consistent or whatever. Cause it's like physically unrealistic for whatever place in their, you know, time in their life that they're in at that period of time. Yeah.
And Matthew and I, we were talking about that. So let's say, you know, you talk about the bodybuilding realm, and let's say you're comparing yourself to like Olympia people.
Yeah.
You know? Their life is eat, train, sleep. That is their life.
Totally.
That's their job.
And I love that you say that, because even though like that's very much what I love, and I'm, you know, competing internationally, I am not an Olympian body. You know what I mean? Like that is like, you are getting, and maybe that's the goal in the, you know, years to come or whatever, but like, we're not there now. And it's like, I'm not saying that I can't be there in terms of that, but unless that I'm doing that, is that going to be my end goal for this sport? I don't know. You know what I mean? If I like, but yeah, you're right. Those, if you want to be there, that has to be your entire life. And those guys are probably getting sponsored to a portion, or, you know, they might be making money off of this. Whereas like us little guys right now, we're still just like, it's still a fucking expensive sport.
Yeah. Yeah. You still have that job to pay for all this. Yeah.
Yes.
So ignore that.
Oh.
So we got to do this again. Okay. Because like we could go on forever, and I would like to do this again when you start and like kind of getting into prep. It'd be
we'll have much leaner to you out there. I'll be like half the chair.
Where you know why I got such big chairs? I was thinking of like Matthew. Because I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have people like Matthew on, so I have to have big enough chairs. But anyways, it'd be interesting to see where your state of mind is at. You know,
I like that.
Starting into going into prep and everything. And with everything that, you know, you've been through in your past experience and stuff. So I definitely want to do this again. And because you said you start prep in June.
Yeah. So let's let's plan it after. Let's wait till I like get in it a little bit so I can
momentum.
Yeah.
No, I would love that, because this is great. And I was telling you earlier, like, it's nice. You just mentioned it too, where you feel honored people tell you things or whatever. It's really nice to watch people kind of unfold. And I know it's getting a lot better, but I know a lot of people were hesitant to come on, especially like Leo. Lee even said to Toby, he's like, well, I'm going to wait till you go on. And I understand, but like, I'm just a little guy. It's just a little podcast. And my goal is to continue to do it and make it big. But now that more people are doing it and you guys are conversing amongst each other, like, it was actually a lot of fun or whatever. And it's nice because this is a good platform for people to get to know you.
Yes.
And experience your experiences through your mouth kind of thing. And so I really, really like doing this. And I'm really glad you came on.
Thank you.
And it's super enjoyable. And I love it. Like, you know, you say, I'm an extrovert, but like, it's good when you carry the conversation. Cause like I did one with a good friend of mine, an old client in Edmonton, and you could tell he was nervous. And it was actually a great podcast. It did really freaking well.
Yeah.
He owns a private gym or whatever. And so I'd ask him a question and he'd be like, and then I'd be sitting there and I'd be like, okay, I gotta think of another one now. Like, cause he was so
fast
or whatever. Right?
See, you did really good on that. That's my problem. Cause it's like, I'm impressed because I know you're a talker. And so I was really impressed with you. You did held well, like listening. And I'm also okay. When I get overwhelmed in my brain, my little, like, I always say it's like my brain's like a funnel. And then like half a sentence will make it out and the other sentence is somewhere up in here.
Like that water park thing in West End. Yeah.
That is how I explain me in like a nutshell. So I'll be like, especially when I get excited, and I don't actually know if I have ADHD. I've never got it tested, but there are sometimes I wonder if everyone to a point is on the spectrum probably anyways. But yeah, there's definitely moments where I'm just like, I will completely just like forget because you think of something and then it makes you excited and you think of other stuff and you're obviously trying to like, you know, keep them all in the same. And anyways, probably because I had too much caffeine today, but no, you did really good at like reminding me where I was at, which is like super fun. Cause some of my friends are like, oh, like, I'm like, where are you listening? No, I'm just kidding. It's not their job. It's mine.
I said this and like, I believe I mentioned this to you. Cause like, once again, too, when I approach people and ask if they want to come on the podcast, okay, like, this is my podcast, quote unquote, but this is about you. And it's the same, like I reached out to Jordan there a couple of days ago and asked if she was interested. And then like when I told her, I said, we're here to talk about you. She's like, oh, like she was taking back from it. And I'm like, yeah, like it's just, this is about you. Like, of course I'm going to like say some things and have my input and whatnot. But no, I'm inviting people on because I want to hear what they have to say.
That's super cool. I know. And I could have probably I did talk about myself. I could have like explained me more a little bit, but
hey, that's why I got to do it again.
There we go. We'll do that again and I'll have a way better introduction. And I'm like, who are you? I don't know.
I'm going with myself. So once again, though, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate your time.
We got to do the handshake on here like it's all professional. No, get your hand over here. Oh, fine.
Okay, great job.
Knuckles?
Okay. Knuckles bump. Okay. All right, take care, everybody.